Wardy and Dubois is another fight
That's right.
you know what I mean, there's
right.
jeopardy behind it. But this fight is just like Eubank and Ben. It's just another cop-out. Obviously, these two guys have achieved more than Ben and Eubank, but it looks like 5 years ago would have been great, but now I don't think I'd be wasting my time on watching, if I'm honest.
Interesting, Mohammed. Listen, thanks for that. Arsenal fan, boxing fan, Keith, we know you. Keith, good morning. You having this fight?
Good morning. You did me a favour. What a lot of nonsense. Fury against Joshua. Let me tell you something. Anthony Joshua is one...
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
We do headlines at 1 minute past 10. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Some breaking news this morning. Arsenal and England defender Leah Williamson has signed a new contract at Arsenal. The 29-year-old has made 282 club appearances, scoring 17 goals for the side she joined at the age of 8. Meanwhile, Mikel Arteta said he was incredibly fuming to see Arsenal's late penalty in Madrid overturned. Former Premier League ref Chris Foy thinks he's right to be upset.
But you can clearly see there's contact on the boot of Eder who goes to ground. And as I said, the on-field decision is penalty. Was it a clear and obvious error, in my opinion? No, but he recommended a review.
It ended Atletico Madrid 1, Arsenal 1. The second leg is live on talkSPORT next Wednesday. More breaking news this morning. Scott Parker is leaving Burnley following their relegation. Scott Parker leaving the club, Burnley, following relegation. We'll bring you more on this on the show coming up with Jim and Simon next. Meanwhile, Frank Lampard has told us he was caught off guard by the emotion of taking Coventry up to the Premier League and used his experience from Chelsea's near misses to guide the players through last year's heartbreak. We've got the Championship's final day live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Mason Mount says Man United can win the Premier League next season, and they've already shown they can beat the big teams under Michael Carrick. Ashley Young's retiring from football. The 40-year-old defender has been playing at Ipswich this season. Meanwhile, with the Saudis about to pull the plug on funding Live Golf, should Newcastle United fans be worried? The Athletics Newcastle correspondent Chris Waugh says no.
I understand exactly why a lot of people are asking the question and why a lot of Newcastle fans may have doubts given the concerns about the lack of infrastructure investment in the big ticket items at Newcastle so far, which really are the stadium and the new training ground.
And 7-year-old golfer Freddie Kello's become the youngest Briton to record a verified hole-in-one. It's after his dad got it on camera. By chance, Carras Green Golf Club in Kendal were testing their new HD cameras and caught it on film as well. A reminder of that breaking news this morning. Scott Parker is leaving Burnley following their relegation to the Championship. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Jewish schools and synagogues are getting another £25 million for security after yesterday's terror attack in London. And 10 people have been arrested after allegations of sexual offences and modern slavery at a religious group in Crewe. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Our expert technicians can't do your spring cleaning, but they can keep your car's inbuilt safety tech in top nick. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Fine day with lots of sunshine, cloudy in parts of the southwest, some rain over Cornwall, warm but still quite windy.
Olivia Moore! And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders. Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
With Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT. So, a finely poised semi-final as Atletico and Arsenal ends 1-1. But as Arteta fumes, Were Arsenal a refereeing decision away from a good night becoming a great night? Meanwhile, Chelsea's Mikhailo Mudryk banned for 4 years by the FA for doping. What comes next? Also today, with a European trophy in sight, are the owners at Villa and Forest proving they can walk the walk. Live Golf, going, staying, gone. Was Mesut Ozil really cancelled, or is he rewriting history? And from midday, we're going to talk boxing with fight pundit Spencer Oliver. And in the last few moments, it's been announced that Scott Parker leaves Burnley following their relegation. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
You don't know this, but every Thursday morning before you come in, I check my lottery numbers.
Do you?
And again this morning, I was checking. I was looking up to see if you'd arrived, because if I win the jackpot, I'm out of here.
You're out of here, yeah.
But nothing again. And then I said to producer Luke, I don't know, I'm going to stop doing the lottery. I mean,
and your numbers come up.
Never. And then that's what's going to happen. I mean, well do I remember many years ago, I used to work with a fella who sadly is no longer with us, Colin Weir, who was a floor manager at Scottish Television. And then years later, I'm down in London having gone to Sky, and I'm looking at Sky News, and there's the same Colin Weir on the telly with a bottle of champagne.
But would you
and
really?
The Camelot people having won 161 million.
Would you really?
Pounds.
I mean, would you really? I mean, I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And rather than just pack it all in, which I could have done, and just live off the interest, I went and bought a football club. So the things that you do in life that make you do the things that you do, you start to change them because you get a big bag of money. All you do is you swap achievement in life for money, and sometimes they're not a good trade-off.
Yeah, I'm still going to do it though.
Is that what you're going to do? Okay.
Simon, good morning. How's the back? You're looking a bit easier.
I'm hoping it's getting better. I don't want to just touch wood, isn't it? I just get on with it.
I'm feigning interest, but
I have to say,
hope you're feeling better.
I have to say, I watched this documentary on TNT last night about this young man who was involved with Worthing Football Club, who was a young footballer that broke his back. And you sit there, and I was sitting there almost in tears because his family were in tears about the challenges he's been through. He wanted to be a footballer. He was involved in the car crash. He's now involved with Worthing Football Club. He's now paralysed from the neck down. Oof. So forget about my back. Look at people like that have managed to come back in life.
Yeah,
get on with their lives. It's a documentary on TNT. Well, I think it's called How George Built Worthing. Well worth watching.
Okay, I'll have a look. I'll check it out. Simon, just as we came on air, Scott Parker has left his position as head coach of Burnley by mutual consent. The statement says, following confirmation of the club's relegation, Parker and the board held discussions and mutually agreed that his time at Turf Moor would conclude. And the club would like to thank Scott for what he has done, etc., etc. The thing is, we've still got a few games to go, and it would appear that Scott is going now, which is rather strange, is it not? Why not wait out the rest of the season?
What's the point? I mean, if the decision has been made, what's the point of hanging around? The die has been cast, the agenda has been set. Whether it's a combination of mutual or one person has jumped faster than the other one pushed, who knows? But if you've made a decision, there's no point sticking around. The club's been relegated. You might find a few people having a few choice words to say to the manager at the back end of the season because they're disappointed with the club's relegation. Why subject him to that? Why subject yourself to that? Because I think there is a little bit of disquiet about some of the performances from certain sections of the Burnley fans. If I read the room right, if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to be corrected.
Okay.
But Scott Parker can leave with no worse a job than, say, Vincent Kompany did. I am disappointed that I thought they would be more competitive insofar as I care about Burnley, but I thought that they would be more competitive because they came up in such a way with such a robust and resilient defence that seems to have completely evaporated as they've got into the Premier League. And it's often easier to be destructive than it is to be constructive. The best players are the ones that score goals, and they're the ones that are most difficult to buy. The ones that can stop you from scoring goals are slightly easier to acquire. But they've gone. He's gone. Burnley will rebuild again. They've got another set of parachute payments. They've got another set of Premiership money that came in. They probably didn't spend all of it, albeit a significant proportion of it. So they get to rebuild again. They go down with the massive advantage of the parachute payments and, of course, the massive consequence of Premier League wages. And Scott will go on, I think, reasonably intact. People will position him as a Championship manager now, someone that can get you out of the Championship and into the Premier League and maybe not any further than that.
Would that be fair or unfair?
Well,
that's your level, Scott. You're a Championship manager.
Is it unfair for Vincent Kompany? He's now managing Bayern Munich, who are potentially the best side in Europe. So is it unfair? These are the cards that you're dealt. It may well be that he is a Championship winning manager in the Championship. Is that such a terrible thing? I mean, that's not a bad profession, not a bad place to be. You're still going to get big bags of money and lots of acclaim. I mean, he will want to be better. He played at elite level. He played for his country. From what I gather, he's a decent bloke.
Oh, he is.
I didn't agree with his principles of what he flapped his gums at Bournemouth. I suspect he probably learnt from that. So he'll go, having got Burnley promoted, having done no worse than his predecessor. The only person that really stands out amongst all of the Burnley managers in the Premier League era is Sean Dyche. Because Sean Dyche absolutely worked the oracle. Sean Dyche took them into the Premier League, kept them in the Premier League, took them into Europe, punched way above their weight class.
Yeah.
And you can have all the AI scouting that you want and American investment that you want, unless you're going to change the entire landscape surrounding that football club, which economically you aren't able to really do. This is the hand that you're dealt. Be interesting to see who goes in there. I mean, Stephen Gerrard's popping up doing lots of media, and it's obviously been indexed to him. There are other people in the mix, I suspect. And Burnley will be a big club in a smaller pond now.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this message from Scott. He says he reflects with great pride on what we achieved during my time at the club, especially our unforgettable promotion season, 24-25. He says, finally, I want to thank the Burnley fans. I wish you all the very best, nothing but the best for the future. It's a tough old job, Simon, isn't it? Because undoubtedly...
So it should be.
Undoubtedly, you get Burnley up and your priority is not to take them straight back down again. I mean, that is what Burnley are about, I'm afraid. That is how they're looked upon by the rest.
But that's because that's the reality of it. But it's been done before. Crystal Palace have been up and stayed up. Now they've been up for 13 years. Bournemouth, I mean, let's have it right. Bournemouth are up, staying up and prospering.
True.
And Bournemouth have got 10,000 fans.
What's the trick?
Be better at your job. Better recruitment. Somehow galvanise the players. Sunderland spent a fair amount of money. I don't think they spent enormously more than Burnley this time round. Buy good senior players. I am not suggesting for one moment that Kyle Walker isn't a good senior player, because I happen to like Kyle Walker quite a lot, and I've grown to admire him as a player. I know he's on the back end of his career now, but he had pace, and I thought in the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the way he spoke with the media, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
But the senior player that went into Sunderland, Granit Xhaka, seems to have pulled together a group of players and galvanised the unit. And I think most people would suggest that is a key signing.
Yeah.
And maybe there wasn't one in the Burnley camp. And that intensity is how you start. I mean, ironically, Burnley beat Sunderland early in the season, didn't they? Sunderland started the season by smashing West Ham at home, and then the next game was away to Burnley, I think. And Burnley started the season by doing a number on one of the teams that they would have to do a number on.
Right.
So look, it is unfortunate for Scott.
Yeah.
He'll go again. He'll have another opportunity. He's been abroad, learned a bit abroad, managed a couple of big clubs in this country, Fulham and Bournemouth. Both of those clubs are prospering in his absence.
Yeah.
Burnley have prospered as a result of the experience with him. Nothing worse, nothing less than what happened to Vincent Kompany. So he'll go again.
Sure. Burnley, second from the foot, 19th, relegated already, having won just 4 in 34 games played. They sit 53 points behind the leaders, Arsenal. Scott Parker has gone, and I am hearing that Sean Dyche is going to be co-hosting the breakfast show tomorrow morning, so no doubt he will be talking about Scott Parker leaving the club at this particular time. And Leeds versus Burnley tomorrow night is live on talkSPORT. You get it all on talkSPORT. You get us too on this Thursday morning, and we're live courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes. Whatever happened to the traditional cagey semi-final affair? The first leg of this semi-final, the highest scoring of any in Champions League history. Now, on Amazon, Vincent Kompany spoke post-match, and he tried to describe what we'd just seen.
Yeah, I would say, well, what do you want? Do you want teams that... I think you've seen a lot of good defending today. Intense duels and this, but it's just the margins are so little, and you only have two ways. So the first one is to go full, or the second one is to retreat fully. The in-between doesn't work against that level of players. The in-between doesn't work against our level of players.
Well, Vincent doesn't exactly see it as Wayne Rooney saw it. We saw some good defending. Vincent, what? Wayne Rooney, at this level, we have seen some brilliance, but we've seen some immature defending, which is crazy. He's not wrong, Dan.
There was some poor defending, yeah. But the problem you've got is when you play the way those two teams do, you're going to isolate people 1v1. And you can call it poor defending or you can just call it brilliant forward play. It's nearly impossible if you're one-on-one with someone with electric pace and good skill, because they can go both ways, to stop them. Kvaratskhelia goal, for example, or when you've got Elise one-on-one, you're in a world of trouble. So, I think rather than focus on whether there was good or bad defending, what I enjoyed most is that styles make fights. You've got two teams who think they're the best.
They sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall! Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Everybody, it's the last day of April, Thursday, April the 30th. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT, live on your TV as well, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show on a daily basis, 10 to 1, you can watch it every morning with us right here on the 17th floor of the news building here at London Bridge. So what did we see last night, Simon? Not exactly remotely what we saw the night before, when PSG played Bayern Munich. It was a finely poised Champions League semi-final first leg. Atletico and Arsenal played out a 1-1 draw. A tale of 3 penalties, 2 given, 1 cancelled. So were Arsenal a refereeing decision or 2 away from a decent night becoming a great night?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game. I thought that Arsenal were quite commanding in the first half and Atletico didn't really turn up. In the second half, they were far better. As they should be, because they're playing at home in a Champions League semi-final. By the standards that we've now engendered into our football, by the crassness and crappy nature of how penalties are achieved, then you have to suggest that the second penalty should have been given. Steven Gerrard raised the VAR question that everyone gets so outraged and exercised about. Yeah, there is a point about this terminology of clear and whatever it is.
Obvious.
Clear and obvious. Not even that obvious to me. Clear and obvious. It stops them from being involved.
Yeah.
And the referee should have the courage of his convictions to stay with what he thinks he saw. But Gerrard raised the question, was it even a penalty in the first place? Of course, Martin Keown, there's no point even asking him. You might as well just airbrush him out and put a statement there what he's going to say, because it's going to be Arsenal-centric. But yes, they can feel hard done by. I thought it was notable that Arteta decided to rage about one. I can tell you now, if that other penalty hadn't been given, if that game had been determined a different way, he'd been raging about the first penalty as well.
Oh, that's right.
That was given to Atletico because he'd have been saying absolutely how outrageous the handball law was. He decided to not be the bad guy in that one because he knows the rules are not in his favour and go after the one that wasn't given.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, when you've watched the game where you've seen 9 goals scored and you've seen remarkable talent on offer, you kind of feel that you're getting the short end of the stick where you're watching people can only score goals from penalties.
Precisely. I mean, and for those who don't know it, Arsenal thought they had a penalty late on after Eze went down inside the box under a challenge, originally given by the referee before being overturned by VAR. After 45 seconds of checking his call and 13 replays, the official changed to the decision, much to the dismay of Mikel Arteta, but of course, much to the pleasure of Simeone. This was Arteta.
In the manner that we give the penalty, very disappointed. And in the Premier League, it's not a penalty, but here I have to accept that with the rules and obviously how consistent they've been, for example, yesterday with Bayern Munich, I accept that this is a handball. What I incredibly fuming with is how the hell the penalty on Epps gets overturned in the manner that happened when it's not a clear and obvious error. And this changes the course of the game, and at this level, I'm sorry, but this cannot happen.
Have you had any explanation on that?
There's very clear explanation. The decision and what happens for a period of time, and the referee has to watch it 13 times. It's more clear than that. I think it's impossible, and yeah, we are all fuming about it.
And he was saying he's fuming. Yeah. He's fuming. They're incredibly fuming. I mean, it is what it is. You no matter what, and no matter what stage you're at in a hugely important tournament, you got to move on.
Of course you do. But he's been asked specifically about a circumstance, and of course he's going to alight upon it voluntarily, or if he doesn't even do it voluntarily, he's going to be dragged there by the journalists, and that's the nature of the game.
Right.
So in this instance, by the standards that we have now allowed to creep into our game, that is a penalty, and it was given as a penalty.
Yeah.
And so he has every right to be outraged to some extent, knowing that the pressure, albeit VAR is under pressure, they're located somewhere else. So unless there was a bunch of Atletico fans outside their VAR room booing and hissing, they made a decision that was either steeped in corruption or they believed had some good reason for being made. Now, the guy going over and seeing it 13 times, it gives you a situation where he's not sure either way. And then you can move into the territory of what Simeone does. I mean, Simeone is a ratbag, isn't he? Everyone knows he is. It's part and parcel of the stick that he does, and you should be well baked into your thinking that's what's going to happen. And Arteta is a jack-in-the-box as well. So he's not beyond reproach in terms of how he behaves in this situation. But I look at it and say they have every right to be frustrated by the circumstances. This idea that is going to be now curated in people's minds because a football manager says it, that the rules are different. Now, I don't know if they are, because I was asking you in the break, are the rules different? Is the handball rule in Europe different to the handball rule in the Premier League?
The interpretation is different.
Well, if the interpretation is different, is that somehow a rule then that you can interpret it differently? Or is it simply that people view things differently as a matter of course? I don't know, but it's a very strange dynamic. But he didn't complain about it, so he shouldn't.
Right.
We shouldn't labour that.
And you're absolutely right about baking in terms of what Simeone is going to do or not do, in terms of his antics at the side of the pitch. He spent all blinking night way outside his technical area. This is what he does. And yet, people still get stressed out by the dark arts of Atletico and the antics of Simeone. We know he's going to be up to it. We know that's what he's going to be doing.
It's up to the officials to stand up to it. It's up to the officials to deal with it.
Oh, Simeone at that moment, when will it be awarded, will it not be awarded, the penalty, the Eze moment, Simeone rushed out of his technical area to give his thoughts, waved his hands in the air right beside the referee while he was at the VAR screen. It's what goes on, and then post-match, Gerrard and Keown kind of locked horns on it.
As the referee's coming over, before he's even looked at the screen, Simeone's in his face, he's waving his arms, then he's in his ear when he's at the screen. It's a performance, and he's the best at doing it.
We'd said he orchestrates the crowd here, but he obviously orchestrates...
And the referee.
The officials. He does that as well.
He influences.
And in fact, he does, because he creates a drama, and in fact, where he was running around, and there's a camera...
But Arteta does that as well.
Yeah, but
in the Premier League, Arteta does that.
Yeah, but not with the same sort of success as this man. This is a master.
Well, we're not talking about this. We're talking about
Simeone is ahead of everybody.
Listen, both their managers will need to lie down after that. They never stop.
I'd be interested to have a tracker on him to see what distance he covered in that technical area.
Maybe predictably, Martin just wanted to focus on Simeone, and Gerrard was trying to bring Arteta into the equation as well.
I mean, these wonderful leaders of men that have never been influenced by anything themselves are very disparaging of referees and their character and how weak they must think they are. None of them have never actually done it. It may well be the case that he was influenced by Simeone. It may well be the case that he was influenced actually by the premise of being called over to the VAR screen. That was the bigger influence. That may well be the case, and Simeone was a sideshow. Because I think to be a referee, and I'm not defending referees ad infinitum, because I've had in the past very strong views on referees and their standards, and I think they should be held to the highest standards. But to suggest that just because you kick a ball, that you have more character and substance than the referee to referee a game and you've never done it, I think is relatively insulting, because you don't know what you would do if you're in that situation. And we know what players do when it comes on top. Most of them run away and hide. Maybe Keown and Gerrard are exceptions to the rule, and I would never levy that against them.
Yeah.
But the point is that it might well be nothing. Simeone doing his dark arts bit, he could be a jack in the box. He can be doing whatever he does, playing to the gallery, and the man could have perfectly well not acknowledged any of that. But the bigger issue was being called to the screen by the VAR and the psychological imbalance that creates in the referee's mind to create a doubt, and he starts to see things differently.
Yeah. On Gerrard and Keown's point, do you think Arteta and Simeone are cut from the same cloth?
No, I don't think so. I think Arteta is a slightly more sophisticated version of Simeone. I think Simeone has got a reputation now that he plays up to. I think Arteta is a modern manager that's up and about and at it and very invested, and very young and very dynamic. It was started by Mourinho a long time ago. It's now the trend. You could never imagine Bob Paisley or Bill Shankly sliding down the touchline on their knees, could you?
No.
And that manager has changed. The profile of a manager has changed.
Yeah.
I think Stephen was right to pull it up, because Martin will only see things from one perspective. So he's quite right to say, well, hang on a second, both at it. But of course, the focus will be on Simeone. It's incumbent upon referees to be stronger. Again, if these boys sit on the sideline with their espousing us of their wisdom, then they must be able to say that it's corrupt. Because if we're suggesting that because the VAR wasn't artificially influenced by the crowd or by Simeone and his antics, the VAR was the scenario that intervened. So they must be corrupt. They must be corrupt. They must have seen something completely different for no other reason. They've broken all the convents of the jurisdiction they should be in. They've broken the clear and obvious, and they've decided to step out of it because they're corrupt. Otherwise, tell me what you think you're seeing them. Or is it just, or their argument would be their total and utter incompetence? Because I do think that penalty was soft. I do. I'm probably I'll probably get screamed at by Arsenal fans and whatever else. But I do think it's soft.
Yeah.
But I also think if the referee has seen it and given it on the field, then that's good enough. But what is the purpose of VAR? It's all well and good people like McManaman jumping up and down saying they hate it, but you are the same mouths on the side of the pitch that hated referees getting it wrong. You're the same people that vilified officials for getting it wrong.
And that's why we have it.
And now you rewrite history and say, well, we want it back to how it was. We accepted it when it was mistakes made before. No, you didn't accept it. You drove it to this point where digital intervention has come, and now what you're doing is just lampooning the next version of officialdom.
Sure. When you think of the first semi-final, at the moment, prior to the second leg, PSG and Bayern Munich, very much a pick 'em, isn't it? 5-4 on aggregate. Atletico and Arsenal, 1-1, very much a pick 'em. So what is your thought, Arsenal fans, going into the second leg? Because obviously, with the home advantage, you think, they come to our place. But honestly, what do you think?
They're not a great side, are they, Atletico?
They're not, but by God, they'll make it difficult. Will they not at the Emirates?
They can make it difficult, and they can have all the histrionics on the side from Simeone. He's going to be faced with 60,000 Arsenal fans that are going to have none of it, and he can bring his little band of Atletico fans and put them in the corner, and they can do whatever they're going to do.
I agree.
But Arsenal are a better side than Atletico, and it's well within their gift to deal with them. They dealt with them in the first half. Atletico got themselves together, as so they should in the Champions League semi-final. But there's no doubt in my mind that if Arsenal half turn up at the Emirates, which they will Simeone can do his dark antics somewhere else.
I agree with you.
He'll be going back to Spain with nothing.
So you're expecting Arsenal to get to the final?
Oh, well, listen, you don't want me tipping you. We know what that looks like. But I'll be surprised if Arsenal aren't in the Champions League final.
Okay, what is your thought? Obviously, you want to see them there, but will they get there? Because if we saw a few dark arts last night, my God, wait for the second leg. What will we see in that second leg between Arsenal and Atletico? And as far as Arsenal fans are concerned, is Simon right? Yeah, you should get there because Atletico Madrid ain't no world beaters. Give us a call, 03717 223344 on this beautiful Thursday morning.
Lincoln City celebrated their title win this weekend. Decided this is the big moment to mock Spurs.
What? Oh my God! up the imps. Up the imps. Jay, Tottenham away, ole ole. That is shameless.
I don't know where to
Tottenham.
go.
Do you know that game now has been built up to something? Like,
Yeah, I know. It has. It's been a thing. Because of you. Because of you.
It has nothing to do with me. I'm not.
No, it is. No, it's because of you. You made it a
I'm
thing.
not playing centre off Spurs.
It's just who we are,
It's
mate.
not my fault you're there.
It's a killer. It's a killer. Lincoln away next season.
Mate, don't knock the imps, mate. Up the imps.
Lincoln away.
Ole, ole.
It's a killer. It is.
Can you imagine if Spurs start singing Lincoln away, ole, ole?
Well, you know what? We're going to have to. Maybe we're going to have to.
No, Jay, get out of it, mate.
Do you think we'll get out of it?
Jay, I've been saying all along you'll get out of it, right? You'll find a way. I cannot... Look, it's a straight shootout between you and West Ham. Up the irons. Straight shootout, mate.
I can't see it.
I
can't see it.
No, it is a straight shootout between you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but West Ham are decent.
Mate, they've been decent.
They've been all right.
Look, you picked up your first victory, right? Roberto Dispersi.
At what cost? Solanke and Jamie Simmons out. Season over.
Patch them up, get them out. You got Bergvall back. Bentancur's back.
The Bentancur was good.
Right, okay, so you got...
Mikel Arteta was incredibly fuming to see Arsenal's late penalty in Madrid overturned. Former Premier League ref Chris Foy thinks he's right to be miffed.
Well, you can clearly see there's contact on the boot of Eze who goes to ground. And as I said, the on-field decision is penalty. Was it a clear and obvious error, in my opinion? Nobody recommended a review.
The second leg is live on talkSPORT next Wednesday. Meanwhile, Arsenal women have a run of Saturday Wednesdays to define their season. Their head coach is Renee Schlegers.
It's going to be short turnaround, so there's 2-3 days in between our games, which we're used to. We love to be in this position, and that's why we have all these players ready to go.
They beat Leicester 7-0 to move within 8 points of WSL leaders Man City. Arsenal crucially with 2 games in hand. Now, with the Saudis about to pull the plug on funding Live Golf, should Newcastle fans be worried? The Athletic's Newcastle correspondent Chris Waugh says no.
A lot of people are asking the question why a lot of Newcastle fans may have doubts given the concerns about the lack of infrastructure investment in the big ticket items at Newcastle so far, which really are the stadium and the new training ground.
And a 7-year-old golfer has become the youngest Briton to record a verified hole-in-one. Freddie Kello hit a 7-iron on a par 3 at Carris Green Golf Club in Kendal.
I was shocked because I didn't feel like it went in, but until my dad started screaming, I thought it went in.
On his phone. More at talksport.com.
Good morning, everybody. Thursday morning, April 30. Good grief. Into May. After May, the World Cup. My God, where is the time going? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. Spencer Oliver, who was mysteriously on the stage the other night at the SJAs with us.
So I told
But quite rightly, because he plays a big part on the show
bombing.
when it comes to boxing.
Photobombing, an award he had nothing to do with. Them being vociferous on an award that we never won.
He was there on merit. standing beside Alex Crook. So it was a bit kind of little and large, but it was great. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. A finely poised semi-final, first leg last night. Atletico and Arsenal playing out a 1-1 draw. But where does it take us now? And despite all the commentary, 5-4 and 1-1, both these ties have the same outcome. A tie is still in the balance, is it not? Do they both remain a pick-em ahead of the second leg? Simon, I want to put this to you, though. The Emirates nerves ahead of the second leg when Atletico come over to play Arsenal. How different is the Arsenal pressure between Premier League and Champions League? I mean, should and are the expectations on different wavelengths?
No, not really. You're in the Champions League semi-final. It's huge. You've got 4 finals. So what would you suggest is more meaningful to them both? They're going to turn up in that Champions League semi-final in the box seat, having drawn away and done their job by coming back with a result that's to the affirmative. So the pressure and the expectation on that evening is going to be huge. They're going to go to Fulham on the weekend. The pressure and expectation is going to be huge on that.
Yes, but in that, the narrative is Arsenal, because of leading all the way, they've got to win the Premier League. No one's really saying they've got to win the Champions League.
Well, they've never won the Champions League.
It's different expectation. They've never won the thing, as you say.
So yeah, but I mean, different expectation doesn't mean different levels of pressure. When you're in the semi-final of a Champions League and you're playing against the lesser of the 4 oppositions that are in there, the three other teams that you could have played, you've got the draw that most would have wanted. They wouldn't have wanted Bayern Munich or PSG in the semi-finals. You've got the draw that you wanted, Atletico. You've won all. So when you come to that game, in that moment, like we talked to Martin the other day about in that moment against Wolves when they were winning 2-0 and apparently they were feeling the pressure. They will feel the pressure of expectation. The fans will be there to see their team turn up at a Champions League final and maybe have a chance of winning it, and maybe have a chance of doing a double, and maybe have a chance of doing a real double. A double of winning the Premier League and the Champions League is as good as it gets. Winning the double of the Champions League, the Premier League and the FA Cup is great. Fantastic. But winning the Premier League and the best tournament in Europe is as good as it gets. So the expectation will be there. And then they'll go into their individual games. And the expectation and the release of pressure from winning the Champions League will help them. Winning the Champions League semi-final will unleash a new feeling of confidence and more settled mentality in the club. So it's a great thing for them to be in this situation, and a great thing to get the outcome. So the pressure will be exactly the same in my view.
Simon, many Arsenal fans, not unsurprisingly, want to come to air with us this morning, and Gary is one of them. Gary, good morning to you. Am I right in thinking, Gary, that is the case? Most Arsenal fans would say, well, we've got to win the Premier League. We have to win it. We're within touching distance of it. The Champions League, if we win it, great. But the Premier League's a one. Am I right, Gary?
Yeah, I think the Premier League definitely, because I think the Premier League's over 38 games. So, you really have to be, on top of your game for so long. And I think you can get away with the format's slightly different now. Now they've changed it, but you could get away with drawing quite a lot of games in the Champions League and then still kind of winning it.
What's your expectation now, Gary? What honestly, as you talk to us this morning, what is your gut feeling?
I think the Atletico game will win. And regarding the Champions League, we've beaten both of those teams. I feel quietly confident that in a one-off game we can beat them. And it wasn't long ago. Yesterday I was talking about Bayern and PSG being the 2 best teams in Europe. 3 months ago we were the best team in Europe. So football comes and goes, doesn't it? And I think if we get it together over the last month of the season, then there's no reason why we can't finish off the Premier League and win the Champions League.
So you've got a good feeling about both?
It's going to happen, but yeah, I think so, yeah.
Why not? Gary, thanks for that. John, big Arsenal fan. Do you have a good feeling about both? Good morning.
Yeah, Premier League, I think, is every game's going to be vital for us. We have to win every single game and hopefully get more goals than we have been scoring. And there's no reason why we can't do both. There isn't no reason. Obviously, I think a lot of rival fans will be like, oh, there he goes, typical Arsenal fan, think they're going to win everything. But we're still in it.
But you're right to think like that, John, are you not? Why be pessimistic?
Well, we can think like that, and every team that would be in our position should also be doing the same. And I would not be holding back saying if it was Chelsea or Man United in the same position, I wouldn't be out there saying, oh, here we go again. Like, no, good. We're in it. We're in it to win it. We're the last English team in the Champions League and be in this tournament. And there's no reason why we can't do it. I agree that penalty, it was soft. It would have been a soft penalty if they'd given it, but they needed to show the same angle that we all saw. They never showed it. They showed one angle from that game. And with both managers, Simeone and Arteta, who both should have had a yellow card for the way that they were both carrying on, they need to look at basically protecting the ref when he's looking at the screen. Pull over a little, like a mini tunnel, just over the top. Let him have his moment. Let him decide. VAR shouldn't have got involved with it, but if you're going to get involved, show him all the angles. Let him see everything that we've all seen, because that's where we're all going to be disappointed with it, is that we're all going to be like, well, there was contact. Soft or not, there's contact in the box, but you do need to protect the ref when he's going to that screen.
John, I would say to you though, mate, has it really come to that you've got to protect the referee when he's over at the screen trying to weigh up a decision? So. He's got to be protected. Has it really got to that from the two managers?
Well, the two managers were both at it, both shouting. We all saw even the players and everything. And that is from a European football club like Spain out there. We know that they're all going to be, very kind of up about it, but I think you're going to have to now, or at least put both of them, or keep the managers over the other side of their boxes, away from him. Let him make his decision, because I think a lot of times if he's left alone to make his decision, he'll probably make the right one and say, no, I'm sticking with it. But because he had Simeone and Arteta in his ear, that was it. But
all right, John, listen, some good points from you, mate. Thanks for taking the time out to call us. I can't see that the referee needs protection over there.
Well, when you say has it really come to that, you could also make the argument, has it really come to the fact that we've got a television screen on the side of a football field now to make decisions? Yes, I think the game has changed. So the circumstances surrounding it, the expectations, the pressure, the media interest, the intensity of fans has all changed. It's all amped up. And social media and everything that goes around the world has changed. So, of course, there's a different expectation. As far as the caller's observations, the only difficulty with his argument is nothing stopping Arsenal from winning the league besides themselves. They're not playing Man City again. Go win all the games you've got, score more goals than Man City. What's going to stop you winning the Champions League is PSG or Bayern Munich. That's a whole different set of scenarios. You can win the Premier League on your own hands, by your own volition, because you go out, win the 4 games, score more goals than Man City. They're not in your way anymore. You can't legislate for PSG and for Bayern Munich. And the difference between PSG and Bayern Munich and Arsenal is right now, as we stand at this moment in time, when this game is going to be played, PSG are a better team than Arsenal, and so are Bayern Munich.
But Arsenal have beaten both of them this year.
As the two teams play now, at this moment in time, irrespective of what they did 5-6 months ago, of the 3 teams, PSG and Bayern Munich are better sides than Arsenal are right now.
Simon, come with me on this as we head to the break at 11:15. Will there be no middle ground in the narrative and perception of how they finish? Either Arsenal discarded as bottlers or immortalised as Arsenal legends? They could win both. Well, they could win neither. Well, they might win one, but not the other.
They have to win something. I don't think there's any real excuse for them not to win something. They'll make excuses if they don't win something. There'll be reasons behind it, and there'll be progress at the centre of it, and that'll be an argument that gets advanced, and Arteta probably won't lose his job because Arsenal's board will still be happy. They're in Champions League. They've gone deep. They might even get to a final. They've gone second in the Premier League. They've progressed. Economically, they're doing better. Everything's fine. We're still in the same place. But if you're talking about winning and closing your eyes and doing that one thing that Rio Ferdinand sort of took Martin Kieran's pants down over a few years ago, which is what winning looks like, then you can't. You're going to have Arsenal in that category. And if you lose it again after being in the box seat, irrespective of the fact it was slightly skewed by the timing of games, so they never were quite as far in front as the economics of the points would have worked out, you will have now, like I said yesterday, once something is said of you, it is very, very difficult to shape the perception, to shift the perception. I was told once upon a time, because when I went in the dressing room in my second, third, or fourth game at Palace, 500 games later, I'm still the chairman that goes in the dressing room. I never did again. And Arsenal have been now told that they're bottlers. If they lose this Premier League again, it'll be seeded. And that's my favourite new word. It'll be absolutely installed in the minds of people that can constantly bring that out as the weaponised comment, in the same way that Jack Grealish will always be Jack the Lad, and the same way someone else will always be something else, irrespective if they do lots of charity work like Jack does, and lots of other good stuff. It'll always be Jack the Lad out on the pop.
Yeah. What would be more amazing to you and to the listeners this morning? Arsenal winning both or Arsenal winning neither?
What would be more amusing? Arsenal winning neither. Because there is a section of Arsenal fans that get right on everyone's nerves, and the cheerleader for that is Keown. So there'd be no more delight, and you can lie and fib, but we would have great delight if Keown was in the studio trying to explain away them winning nothing this season.
He'll go missing.
He'll go missing. Yeah, he won't, but he'll make up some ridiculous concocted
It would be
story.
amazing if they win both.
And yes, so we should have equal ends, mirth and mayhem. The mayhem that we should have, and in terms of exalting the absolute achievements of them winning both, and it should be absolutely lionised. For them winning neither, we should have the mirth at its extreme as well.
Yeah, but at this point going forward, it would be pretty incredible if they don't at least win one of them.
Well, they're in danger of winning neither. I mean, they are in danger of winning neither, and they've put themselves in that situation. In the Champions League situation, no. They've done their jobs. They've been fantastic throughout. They've navigated the obstacles. They led the group. They did their job. They won their group, the knockout stages. They've gone to Atletico. They've drawn the first leg. They'll beat them in the second. They're in the Champions League final. They'll just play against a better side. And if that better side has a better day on off day, they'll win the Champions League.
Exactly.
But in the Premier League, they do deserve their little bosses spanked because they were in the box seat. They were in control of their own destiny, and they've now handed that opportunity back to Man City and said, we didn't fancy running away with it. We want to give you a chance.
Okay.
And you can't do that with Man City.
We're coming up to 11:15. Here's the thing. Mykhailo Mudryk banned for 4 years by the FA for doping. What is coming next? We're coming next after this.
I can tell you we've got a massive update on Mykhailo Mudryk. He has been handed a 4-year doping ban by the Football Association. It happened earlier this year. That is the maximum, the same number originally that Paul Pogba got, by the way. And Mudryk has gone to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. I can read you a statement from the Court of Arbitration to Sport from the sources that have sent on-record confirmation to talkSPORT saying CAS confirms it's received an appeal by Mykhailo Mudryk against the Football Association, filed on the 25th of February 2026. The parties are currently exchanging written submissions and a hearing is yet to be sanctioned. Sources have subsequently told us at talkSPORT that the ban is 4 years, and Mykhailo Mudryk is hoping, using the same lawyers actually as Paul Pogba, to either get vindicated via the Court of Arbitration for Sport or, at least in a worst case scenario, have that ban reduced. Now, if, like Pogba, the ban was moved from 4 years to 18 months or 2 years, then because the provisional suspension that Mudryk has served counts towards that, he could, in theory, if successful, find himself back in action ahead of next season. But if he serves the full 4-year ban because CAS uphold the FA decision, then obviously his Chelsea future and maybe even his future in football becomes severely in doubt.
Yeah, Ben, just remind us, if you know, of course, exactly what he's...
And they sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Good morning, everybody. Coming up to 10 to 11, Jim White, Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. I mentioned during the week the hard work that Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs do here at talkSPORT, and it was Ben Jacobs who came through first with the news yesterday that Mykhailo Mudryk had been banned for 4 years by the FA for doping. The Chelsea player, 25 years of age, was charged by the FA with an anti-doping rule violation in June last year. He was tested positive way back, it seems, December 2024, for meldonium, a banned drug that can improve endurance, and had been provisionally suspended since. He appealed against the decision to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. He denied deliberately taking a banned substance, said the positive test was a result of contamination. It's likely the 4-year ban is now going to be backdated to the point of his suspension, meaning Mudryk might well be able to return in December 2028. Ben Jacobs joins us live on the show this morning. Ben, good morning to you. You were first with the news yesterday, as always. Why has it taken so long, though, for the result of this to come through, Ben?
I think it's complicated because Mykhailo Mudryk was on international duty, and the only way really of not getting a doping ban, because athletes have strict liability. So Mudryk had said that he didn't intentionally take anything, even if that were proven to be the case, then the rules still tend to provide punishment, and you have to mitigate and use lawyers to take time off. Whereas if the argument can be proven to be a lack of testing protocols such as contamination or even sabotage, it's a different story. But of course, it's complicated and hard to prove. And the exact reasoning as this CAS case gets off the ground will become more apparent, because right now the parties are still under strict confidentiality. But this is relatively normal. A 4-year ban is the maximum, but it's the starting point. And it tends to be quite time consuming, especially due to the complexity of the situation and the fact that Chelsea and even arguably the FA can't help a great deal, because this was not a Premier League doping test. It gets referred into the FA sphere, which is why they were the ones handing out the punishment. But a lot of back and forth and evidence were also needed from the Ukrainian FA, and that, I'm told, also added an extra layer of both complication and time.
Okay, I'm going to bring Simon in a second because I wanted to take on it. But Ben, what's the process now?
So Mykhailo Mudryk has been charged by the FA. It's a 4-year ban, and had he not appealed, that would be the end of it. But he has. So Mudryk immediately went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Those documents in terms of his desire to appeal were filed on the 25th of February. Now we're waiting on the written submissions. And the fact that that's been a further 2 months tells you the complexity of this case. Once those written submissions have been received, CAS will set a date for a hearing, and then of course Mudryk could find he wins entirely, his name is vindicated, and there is no punishment. He could find, like Paul Pogba, and he shares the same lawyers, that the 4-year ban is reduced, and because, as you say, it's backdated, if it was reduced to 2 years, he could be back playing. And then the other scenario is simply that CAS upheld the FA ruling, in which case it will stay as a 4-year ban. And then the last point to make is Chelsea want to let this process run its full course and respect it, and therefore presume innocence still. If Mykhailo Mudryk is guilty, however, there are provisions in the contract, if they so wish, to terminate the contract, but we're not there yet.
What's your take on it, Simon, looking at this from distance as we are doing?
I always find it, spending so much time looking at boxing now and thinking that boxing has real jeopardy in fighters taking these sort of substances to enhance their power. I find it less concerning about this sport. That doesn't mean there shouldn't be a real focus on it. If you can tap dance your way around legislation, as Conor Benn did and other fighters have done, it will be almost unbelievable to think that Mudryk won't find a solution to some extent to get himself into a position where the ban is reduced from 4 years to 2 years, and by the time that comes round, he'll be out almost, because he'd have served the time in the last 15, 16 months.
Yeah.
Chelsea are sitting on the sidelines paying his salary, because the alternative is either looking at the opportunity as a breach of contract, because if he's been charged and now found guilty, he's potentially in breach of contract. They probably don't want to do that because they've got his registration. If they terminate his contract, they terminate the registration, which means they can't sell him. Whether they got a case against him as potentially as was happened before. You remember the Romanian player, Adrian
Mutu,
who Chelsea sued and I think ended up bankrupting him for the fact that he was in breach of contract because his was recreational drug use.
Yeah.
And Chelsea sued him, terminated his contract, and sued him back for loss of opportunity, and ultimately lost the transfer fees. My nose tells me that with the kind of resources that a player that cost 90 million quid would have around him, that they'll find a way to get themselves into a position, despite strict liability, and having to account for it, that they get themselves back into a situation where 2 years is what they serve, and given they're 15, 16 months already into it, he'll be back available as a professional footballer in December of 2026.
However, would it be right or wrong to assume that in the court of public opinion, Ben, people are looking at Mudryk and thinking, there's a guy whose career was very much derailed for an amount of time because of what has happened with him?
Personally, I would argue it's more in the court of football opinion, and before all of this there was debate over whether Mudryk could cut it at Chelsea. So despite the fact there's an ongoing case, if he returns, as Simon said, it may be that he becomes marketable and Chelsea still want to move on, because now he would be returning into a Chelsea team that has Jamie Gittins, Alejandro Garnacho, Giovanni Quenda arriving from Sporting. Chelsea want another creative attacker. Morgan Rogers is a target. He can play on the left-hand side. So can Pedro Neto as well. So my sense is Chelsea want to support Mudryk and presume innocence, which is the right thing to do. But if he clears his name, it doesn't automatically guarantee a future at Chelsea, because nothing to do with this. They still have to make a football decision, and Mudryk has fallen further down the pecking order whilst he's been out trying to clear his name.
Well, he can't clear his name. All he can do is observe the code of strict liability by finding some degree of circumstance around how it got into his system, and there will always be debate and doubt about it. The interesting thing will be, he's been at Chelsea for what, 3 years? By the time if his ban comes up, if I'm right in my assumption, right? So if I come up in my assumption that he's been comes back in December 26, if he's been bought for 80 odd million quid, he'll be on their books at 20 million quid. You'll be able to sell him despite the challenge of what he is or what he isn't for 20, 30 million quid. You've booked a profit at that time. So there's lots in it for Chelsea to think about. The player I doubt will play for Chelsea again, because as Ben rightly says, he was a mile off in lots of people's minds in terms of his competence. And what you've got is a player now that is an £80 million misfit, has got banned for drug consequences.
Yeah.
Now defending himself, not against the fact there's drugs in his system, against how they've got there. Strict liability means you've got to have a cast iron, copper bottom, unassailable reason, which clearly hasn't been the case. Otherwise, he wouldn't be getting a 4-year ban from the outset. He's relying on Court of Arbitration of Sport to look at it perhaps more equitably in their minds.
Yeah.
And the usual form is they'll take the ban and they'll take it into 2 years rather than 4. That's not exonerating yourself. That's just bringing yourself back quicker. And then that becomes a situation where Chelsea go, we can still monetize this player, not in our first team, but we can sell him. And because he's on our books at 20 million quid, we could sell him for 30 million quid and make a £10 million profit.
Right. Any word from Chelsea at this early stage, Ben, or might we expect any word from Chelsea on the Mudryk topic?
Chelsea have declined to comment when approached, and I think that will be the case, to be honest with you, until the CAS hearing resolves itself. Simon's right to say if the ban is reduced, it will still be seen as guilt. But from Chelsea's point of view, and why I use the phrase clear his name, Mudryk is still hoping, even if it's a long shot, that he will be exonerated entirely. In other words, 4 years will go to 0 because of contamination or sabotage out of his control, in which case strict liability would not apply. If that was the case and there was evidence, then it presumably would have been presented to the FA, but Chelsea have to wait and plan for all eventualities, and that's why they're not commenting at the moment.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. Ben Jacobs, talkSPORT reporter with us live this morning. Simon, we know, and you touched on it, but boxing's integrity has been shaken over the years because of moments like this. Might football's integrity,
but it doesn't,
from time to time,
sure, I mean,
similarly under the microscope?
We've had high-floating footballers that didn't turn up for drugs tests before. You know, we've had lots of this in the past. It doesn't carry. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not suggesting that drugs should be condoned in one sport and not another. But in combat sports, it feels like it has more meaning to me. You know, someone being able to, this drug is supposedly gives you a better respiratory opportunity, which means you can run faster.
It's kind of life and death in boxing.
There's my point. So if you can hit harder, you kill somebody. If you can run faster, you outpace them. It doesn't have the same consequence to me, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be treated with the absolute scrutiny and forensic approach and the same sort of consequences.
No, but in football, it goes to the heart of integrity. We have to be able to trust what we're watching.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I understand that. And of course, I mean, I'm more inclined to suggest the integrity when people are being corrupt and cheating in the game is more prevalent than perhaps people taking some form of stimulant, which in part was designed to be fixing someone's heart issues. So what they've been put on a ban list for, you never understand some of these things, because when you start seeing ban lists, once upon a time, Billy Joe Saunders was able to use a respiratory device that was not available for him to use in the UK, so it would be banned from using it in the UK, but if he fought in Massachusetts, he could use it over there. So there are different medical guidelines, and there does need to be a unification and standardisation of what people think is good and bad.
Sure.
But yes, he should suffer the consequences of it, and I suspect he has already suffered it. The interesting thing is the biggest people that suffered it most are Chelsea.
Yeah.
They've probably been paying this kid £100 a week for him to sit around scratching his backside.
Well, Mudryk banned for 4 years by the FA for doping, but having said that, he may be able to return sometime around December 2028. That is then, this is now, and now it's 11 o'clock.
Unai Emery to Real Madrid.
Oh dear, my drink.
He's an experienced Spaniard whose heart is open to a move back home. He's enjoyed his time in the Midlands. His current partner is begging him to stay. But sometimes you just can't say no to something bigger and better. So will he ditch his babe in boring Birmingham for a magnificent madam in Madrid? Unai Emery to Real Madrid.
I don't think he'd want to go
to Real Madrid. Are you swiping left or swiping right?
Swiping left.
Hold on a minute. Did you just say?
Do you know what?
He wouldn't want to go to Real Madrid.
No. You don't get to explain.
You just say he wouldn't want to go to Real Madrid. And the reason for that would be?
Because at Aston Villa, he runs the show. It's his club. Real Madrid is chaos. Look how the players treated Xavi Alonso.
It's Real Madrid.
Vinny Jr. walked off the pitch and went down the tunnel. And when he got taken off, it's not work for Arbeloa. It's a bit of a toxic job at the moment.
It's the biggest club in the world, one of them, certainly.
After Rangers?
After Glasgow Rangers, yes.
I don't think it works. I feel like what he's got going on at Aston Villa, he runs the club, he decides every decision. To go to Real Madrid and what? You could be there for 6 months and get the sack.
Is this because you want this to happen? You don't want this move to happen?
I don't see it.
That's why I'm swiping left, because I don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
I love him.
I don't see it.
We can't do what you want. We think what you think is going to happen.
I don't think it will happen. I think he's got something good going on at Aston Villa. He's got a great chance of winning Europa League, Champions League football, hopefully. Why would you want to go to Madrid? Last time Ali was there, it was...
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at just coming up to 4 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Scott Parker has left Burnley following their relegation back to the Championship. Former Palace chairman Simon Jordan's asked, what's the point of staying on?
If you've made a decision, there's no point sticking around. The club's been relegated. You might find a few people having a few choice words to say to the manager at the back end of the season because they're disappointed with the club's relegation. Why subject him to that? Why subject yourself to that?
Assistant Mike Jackson's in interim charge of Burnley till the summer. Craig Bellamy and Stephen Gerrard are in the frame to take over. Former manager Sean Dyche is co-hosting talkSPORT Breakfast tomorrow, and we've got Leeds versus Burnley live this Friday night. One Club woman Leah Williamson signed a new contract with Arsenal. The England captain's extended for another 2 years. Williamson's been at Arsenal since the age of 8. Now, 40-year-old Ashley Young says it feels quite nice to be retiring from football. He's now focused on getting Ipswich back to the Premier League. Second place in the Championship still up for grabs, and that final day is live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Meanwhile, Frank Lampard has told us the emotion of taking Coventry back up hit him like a train, and he lent on his experiences of near misses with Chelsea after Coventry lost in last season's playoffs.
I sent the boys a little message on the group the day or so after. I was like, lads, you've been brilliant. Bring your runners, because we need pre-season we need to be a physical machine and we need to take steps forward. That was my feeling.
You can catch up with Lampard's interview on the talkSPORT YouTube. And Live golfers have been told Saudi Arabia are pulling out of funding the tournament. It's believed Yasser Al Rumayyan, the PIF governor and Live Golf chairman, is leaving the board, with new members set to be announced. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The government's promising more money to protect British Jews, and one of London's busiest train and tube stations has been evacuated following a suspected gas leak. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
It's a fine day with lots of sunshine. Cloudier in parts of the southwest. Some rain over Cornwall. Warm and still quite windy.
They sent us a picture that made me feel so ashamed. We look like hoarders.
Chris Marshall!
Yeah, I'm actually recovering from an accident right now.
You've landed loose today, haven't you?
Yeah, don't shake the arm, Chris, too much.
You're with Danny Boyle, who's like the maddest director ever. He's got so much energy. He's like you.
Good morning, everybody. 6 minutes past 11 o'clock. It's Jim White and an ever improving in terms of his sore back, Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. I notice during every commercial break now, you get up and you go away from me, which I'm fine with, incidentally, but you're through there and you're walking about and you're anyone you can find, you're giving them updates about your back situation.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, certainly I'm not.
I hear this on a regular basis from people the other side of the glass.
No, you do not.
Oh, God, he's coming through again.
They say that for different reasons.
I'll feign interest. How's your back?
No, that's not true. I got up there because there's a wall to lean against, and I can lean against that wall and press my back against it. Because I'm in pain, mate.
You've got a new fan. Nick Ellaby was just saying his dad is one of your big fans. So honestly, there's not a day goes by that I'm not told. Oh, I tell you what, I'm a big fan of Simon Jordan. So Nick,
someone wants to tell Michelle that because she thinks I'm a total tit.
How's your back? You okay? A huge night of European action as Nottingham Forest host Aston Villa in the Europa League semi-final first leg. What a tie. Honestly, these two are going to go at it over 2 legs. I cannot wait. So what can we expect? This was Pereira and Emery going into this.
Pressure is to be ourselves. The pressure is about to be ourselves as a team. To express themselves, the players, to express the qualities that they have on a pitch, to do everything, working hard to get a good result and to play good football. This is the pressure. This is the only pressure that we can have in this moment.
I must try to show the players our way with our experiences and trying to respond better than we did. And of course, I have my own experiences before and in this competition and different momentum as well, but it's completely different. And in football, everything you were doing before is maybe it's fantastic or maybe not, but it's done. And now is a new chapter. And I want to write a new chapter here.
Oh, I love it. I really do love this. They've got to get to a final, Simon. So one's got to knock the other out and then get to a final. And in that final would either be Sporting Braga or Freiburg of Germany. But when you look at this, a European trophy and Champions League football that would go with that next season, how big a validation would that be for these two clubs and their ownerships?
Well, I think they're already validated in many people's minds. I think the ownership of Aston Villa is categorically validated. They've played in the Champions League recently. They've got a manager that's really at the top of his game. And so it'll be an added advantage, an added credibility for the ownership model that's already lauded and applauded outside of the club and inside of the club. Marinakis is a different kettle of fish. He's adored because of what he's done for Nottingham Forest, but he's made big noises about what he wants to achieve, and his side are flirting with relegation. So he cements a huge opportunity to make good on the words that he said to you back in the day when Forest got promoted, makes good on the decisions that he's made, because it was all about trying to achieve things, and in came Nuno Espirito Santo, out he went, in came Postecoglou, out in came Sean Dyche, out he went, in comes Vitor Pereira, try and preserve and enhance something. Pereira's come in, they've just smashed the granny out of Sunderland last week, 5-0, so they're in good form. Villa are a good side, it makes for a good game. I mean, Villa on paper should win this over the 2 legs. Second leg at Villa Park, right?
Yes.
First leg at the City Ground.
Yeah.
But this is it's a Midlands derby of sorts.
Yeah.
Forest are in good nick. Their confidence is back up again. I don't know what it does for them if they get knocked out of this, if it enhances or hurts their Premier League status in terms of their credentials of staying in the division. I think they're going to stay up anyway.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like to pick it, because I can see Forest going through. I can see Villa going through.
Yeah.
The difference might well be the manager. In Emery, because he's such an elite manager and has got the credentials in this particular space. But Marinakis and his desire and his relentless quest, and the fact that he's one of those few guys that goes out and says, this is what I'm going to do, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So if they actually won this Europa League and got into the European Cup, he will have ticked most of the boxes.
Sure.
Within reason they said he was going to.
Yes, indeed, Sam, you're right. It would prove that they could walk the talk, if you like. Marinakis, in an open letter back in 2023 to Forest fans, remember, said, "Our vision for the club is clear and unwavering. We're on a path to re-establish Nottingham Forest as a dominant force in English football." And as Simon said, when they went up to the Premier League, all he spoke about that day to me was trophies, trophies, trophies. When Aston Villa went up to the Premier League, and this was back in 2019, we very rarely heard from Nassif Sawiris and Wes Edens, the two owners. But we did that day. I got in front of them, and both were elated that they'd done it, but both agreed this was just a start.
I'm a very bad loser. Everybody who knows me knows that I hate losing. So we're here to win.
And how big can Aston Villa get now? What now? Do you have big plans?
The sky's the limit. With such a great fan base, the sky's the limit.
Does this make it all worthwhile? This is why you came into English football. This is why you joined up with Mrs. Sawiris to get involved with Villa.
100%. And really our goal was to get in the Premier League, but just as the beginning. We want to build one of the best clubs in the world. So this is a major, major step in that direction. It's just so exciting.
I mean, these two, they said to me then, Simon, this is great. This is the start.
Yeah.
But this is the start. We do hope, looking forward, that there are going to be special days ahead. Now, this would be a very special day for Aston Villa to lift this thing.
These are two different styles of ownership. One is more sophisticated and erudite and in the background. Fiddle on the Roof for the reference, but also equally as determined and resolute and prepared. Most importantly, more than Aston Villa, to put his money where his mouth is. Because Villa have backed it, but they backed it with the sale of Jack Grealish and circumstances like that when they brought players in, and because their PSR compliance has been an issue.
Well, that. I mean, would a trophy in Champions League football align with the idea that PSR restricts ambition and opportunity?
Well, the Europa League is a very different dynamic, isn't it? So, the challenges that that Villa have had is that their ambition to push on and to rival the teams that become the elite in their own league and then to be a staple diet in the Champions League is very difficult for them to achieve. Now, they might get a double whammy. They might get both ends. It might actually open an opportunity for someone else, because if Villa might finish in the top 4 and win the Europa League, I don't know what that does for space somewhere else in the Champions League, in Europe, in UK football. But the fact is that both of these clubs are going to find it remarkably difficult to challenge the establishment. The establishment has created and curated its outcome by PSR, hidden in plain sight about PSR's motivations, because now the Liverpools, Manchester Uniteds, Chelsea's, Manchester City's, are almost unassailable, because how are you going to find the extra 400 million quid a year to compete with them?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But by winning Europa League and getting Champions League spots, it gives you the building blocks. But then again, you're in the same position as you try and compete with those turnovers. You only get an extra 100 million a year, and that ends up going on the players' wages, and then you don't get any benefit from it besides the glory of achieving something you said you were going to. I think it's great that we've got. I would rather have seen it as a final.
Oh,
I
agree.
I have to be honest, with all due respect. I'm sure they're immensely popular in their own countries, but I couldn't care less about Sporting Braga or Freiburg.
No.
And so I'd much rather see Nottingham Forest playing Sporting Braga.
Yeah.
For the Portuguese relationship between Pereira and Emery beating Freiburg and getting to a final, and the English teams playing in a final.
Yeah, sure. Forest fans, Villa fans, it is a semi-final nonetheless. But you have a great chance, one of you, to go through to the final and then win the damn thing outright. You heard Villa fans from Sawiras and Edens way back in 2019 with me saying, we want this to be the springboard, getting up to the Premier League, but we want to stay there, obviously, but do something spectacular. How spectacular would this be? And do you feel your club is on the brink of doing it? And Nottingham Forest fans, topsy-turvy season to say the least of it. Good God. Absolutely. Managers coming and going. But if you win this, how would you view Marinakis, who on the day you went up to the Premier League said to me, it's all about trophies, trophies, trophies. Will you buy into Marinakis even more? 03717 22 3344. It's not the first time that Jack's been caught up in off-field issues, if you can call this an off-field issue. Way back in March 2020, during the first COVID-19 lockdown, he was involved in an incident in Solihull, a car crash, 24 hours after urging fans to stay home on social media. He ended up pleading guilty to careless driving at the time. He was fined over £80,000. He was handed a 9-month driving ban after the incident. A year later, after a 7-0 win over Leeds, Pep Guardiola was said to be unhappy with the condition of both Foden and Grealish, turning up at a training session and not in the best of condition. After their treble win, we know that Jack Grealish was lionised by a certain section of the general public. He was on a bit of a drinking bender, but Pep seemed to be quite relaxed about it. If you fast forward to March 2025, he was spotted in Newcastle following an FA Cup win. He visited a social club in Washington near Newcastle on a Sunday. He was described as a total gentleman by locals. He posed for photographs, but then when he left the pub, he seemed somewhat unsteady on his feet. He looked a bit worse for wear. And Pep ultimately was asked about that and the sequence of events that led up to that.
They know what they have to do. So day off is day off. It's no training. They are a private life. They will do whatever they want. I'm not going to control what they do in the private life. So I judge when I have to see with the pitch, the training sessions, and the performance in the game. That's what I judge.
White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. Thanks for all the messages coming in. Absolutely love it. Keep them coming. 81089. Forest fans, is it your time? You're going to get to a European final and win it, the Europa League final. Or Villa fans, are you going to do it? You're going to put Forest out over the two legs, get to the final and beat either, as Simon mentioned, Sporting Braga and Freiburg. And we don't have a lot of emotion either which way for them. So which one of you is going to get there? Do you feel really good about getting to this final? Is it your time? 03717 223344. Here's Daniel, big Aston Villa fan. Daniel, good morning. What's your hunch going into this, mate? What's your gut feeling?
So, as a Villa fan, born and bred, I'm hugely excited about the potential. I don't see us, if I'm being completely honest, don't see us winning tonight. I want to see a draw. I'll be happy with that because Fortress Villa Park is where it'll be won, and we will go to the final 30 years on from our last major trophy.
Brilliant.
And win it.
Brilliant. What would that mean to yourself, to other Aston Villa fans, if indeed you do as you say you hope to do? Go and win this.
So we've historically been known as a selling club. When you go as far back as the likes of Delph and Barry. But we're starting now to be more of a club that puts a footprint in the league and sort of disrupts the horribleness that is PSR. I'm completely with Simon on what PSR is. But we're changing the narrative, and we are now, I think, we're going to be a contending club, but we need to be keeping our big players to keep our foot sort of on that top six pedal.
Sure. Daniel supports a club you have a lot of respect for, doesn't he?
Oh, very much. I mean, I grew up watching Aston Villa, win that European Cup in '82. The team that featured people like Dennis Mortimer and Peter Wibb and Tony Morley and people of that nature. Yeah. And the club, and I also had a lot of affection for Doug Ellis. I mean, there was never a stranger to a set of bedfellows, but Doug was always very tolerant of me and very empathetic, and I always liked him. And I think Aston Villa's a big club.
Sure is.
So the achievements of that team, obviously, it was under Ron Saunders, a strange manager that managed to manage all the teams in the Midlands and never sort of caught any shrapnel for it.
Yeah.
But they're a brilliant football club, and you go there and you go to Villa Park. It's got scale. I went there's a couple of stadiums that I've been to. I always mark about Leeds. But when I think about it, going to Villa Park was a hostile place as well.
Absolutely. We're hearing from a lot of Villa fans, Forest fans. Give us a call, 03717 223344. We want to hear from you. I mean, 4 managers into the season. What would success constitute for Forest? Would it be more accident than design? Anyway, Adam's a Villa fan and he's through to us. Adam, good morning. You got a good feeling about this?
Morning, guys. How are we doing? Great show as always.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, I think so, mate. If we can, like the previous bloke said, if we can get out of the City ground with at least a draw, then there's absolutely a chance that we can go and win it at home and move on to the final. I mean, we've got Unai Emery at the helm. If we're not going to get to the final and or win it with this guy, then there's a massive chance that we're not ever going to do it.
Do you worry, Adam? And I don't want to rain in your parade, but say Villa do it and get to the final and win it. The suitors are going to surround Emery, aren't they?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's clubs all over the Prem right now that are looking for new managers, and they're all going to want a piece of Emery. But it's whether he's going to be happy to go to one of these clubs and potentially not have the keys of the kingdom like he does at Villa Park. If they try and put him into a box and say, this is what you need to do, there's no guarantee that he will have the success that he's famous for at those big clubs.
Yeah. Simon, Adam, thanks for the call. I agree with you. The number of times I've been at Villa Park, when you get there, you think, yeah, this is somewhere special.
See, I think it's a bit of a myth, and it's a raft to cling on to, that Emery won't leave Villa because he'll be concerned about not getting the control. Emery will get the control at big clubs if he exhibits that he's capable of doing it, which he has done, because people that run big clubs don't really want to do the job that the manager's capable of doing. They're quite happy for the manager to do it if he's capable of doing it.
Yeah.
What they've had before is people that aren't. So you wait and see. If Emery is up and Man United want him and he wants a certain level of control, Man United, looking at a manager like Emery, would be prepared to give it because the person would be worth it and exhibit the characteristics of someone that's capable of doing it. And let's not lose sight. Managers don't really want control of buying players. They want the players they want, but they don't want to do the scouting, and they don't want to run around the world making sure that the player that they're about to sign has all the attributes that they say that they think he's got. They want the resources around. They want to be able to have the comfort of knowing that they've got a second check and a 3-line whip behind their thinking.
But they don't want 4 sporting directors doing the business for them.
Well, if they're getting the player they want, they do.
Yeah. Incidentally, Simon, here come the Forest fans. Damien, good morning to you. Damien, 4 managers into the season. Would success for Forest come more by accident than design? Good morning, mate.
Definitely more by accident than design. I don't think that's debatable. It's been a shambles, quite honestly.
Can you believe where you've got to, though? I mean, Villa stand in your way over 2 legs, then you might make a final, and you could win that final. I mean, come on, Braga or Freiburg. This is on, Damien, is it?
We won't get as far as Braga and Freiburg. If we play Villa over 2 legs 20 times, we go through once. It's like, I don't think we're good enough to beat Villa over 2 legs. But my 27, I'm old enough to have seen Forest win in Europe actually at the 79 final when I was a young lad. And my son, who's 27, absolutely hates me for saying this, but it's all about the Premier League. I really don't care if we beat Villa or not, if I'm honest with you.
What do you make of that, Sam?
Well, you can have both. I mean, I happen to absolutely loved Nottingham Forest as a football club. I grew up watching them like I did Villa, but I had Trevor Francis work for me. John Robertson was my favourite player.
Yeah.
Clough just stands out beyond it. What they did is nothing short of a miracle to take a parochial club that was in the mid-table in the 2nd division and put them into the 1st division, win the 1st division, win the European Cup 2 years in a row. And having taken the Palace team there many times to see the sport that Forest have, if you ask me who I want to win this, I want Forest to win it.
Oh, do you?
Because I think Forest are a fabulous club.
Okay.
I think their supporters are brilliant.
Damien, there you go. You get Mr. Jordan on your side.
Well, Simon, Robbo should be given a posthumous Ballon d'Or.
Absolutely. One of the best players I ever saw. Absolutely fabulous player.
Damien, listen, thanks for the call. Sean, do you agree with Damien, though, that from a Forest point of view, the Premier League's your priority?
Yes, it certainly is. Premier League is priority. Anything else is a bonus.
So this is anything else, but it's not really. It's a European semi-final over 2 legs against an English opponent. You guys feel within yourself, you can win this, can't you?
Anything is possible. Anything is possible, but we want Premiership survival. That's our main aim.
You can have both, can't
this
you?
is a bonus.
You can have both, can't you? You just smashed Sunderland 5-0. You got Chris Wood back in the starting lineup. Gibbs White's flying. You know, you got Elliot Anderson in good nick. You're coming back to where you were before, and I think you'll stay in the Premier League. But you can have both, can't you?
Well, like I said, we should, hopefully tonight we will get a result at the City Ground and then go to Villa Park, and that'll be a draw, hopefully.
Sean, thanks for the call. Lee, big Villa fan, let's finish with you. Unai Emery, is he going to prove to be the difference, do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think he really could prove to be the difference because, like I say, he's been there before, and I think it'll be a tight game, but it'll be one of those, like, it's made in the moments. If you look at, like, Southgate for England, for example, he got us there, but he couldn't get us over the moments. I think Emery might just get us over the moments.
Lee, I spoke to your 2 owners years ago when you went up, Sawiris and Edens, and they said, we're aiming for big, big things. This is the big thing, isn't it? This is one of those big things, right?
Well, it's not just that. It would help us out with PSR as well, which then means, and if we get Champions League, it then means we can attract the bigger players. Obviously, you've got the wage problem and all the turnover problem, but then you can attract the bigger players. And we're a big club anyway. I mean, we've just sort of woken up, which is quite nice to see. So
great. Few people in here like that. Lee, thank you very much indeed.
If it goes to form,
it's going to be something else.
If it goes to form, Forest and Villa drew, a week ago? A couple of weeks ago. And Villa beat them 3-1 at Villa Park earlier on in the season.
So Villa should do it.
If it goes to where the teams are in the league,
yes,
and really the level of Emery, Pereira's a good manager, but Emery I think is a different level. It should be Villa, but as I say, I think what it will be is it'll be 2 stadiums that are going to be rocking. City Ground will be alive tonight. And so will Villa Park, because whatever the outcome of the game, whether they win, lose or draw, it still has to be finished at Villa Park, and their fans will be up for it because it's a European semi-final.
Yeah.
Against an English
from where
club.
he was with Wolves, Pereira could end up winning a European trophy.
Well,
I mean, it's remarkable.
It just shows he can do a job in short term, doesn't it? Because with Wolves, when they needed someone to dig them out of the hole that the dressing room and Gary O'Neill would put them in the previous season, up he came. When it came to a longer bandwidth and a longer runway, out he went. Back in he comes in again when Forest needed Sean Dyche will say to you absolutely categorically, and he did when he was in the studio last time, we would have gone in that direction. We would have Sean Dyche would be here now, in the position that Pereira's in his mind's eye. He's not, but the fact is, he would have been in his mind's eye, and so Pereira has an opportunity to write himself a whole new set of parameters around where he goes next.
Sure.
What it looks like for him if he stays at Forest post this season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, has he got a longer term contract? Has he signed on for a longer time? Has he just signed on to keep the season alive for them? Anyway, whatever it is, it'll be a great game of football tonight.
It will be. It's at Forest Villa, the first leg, 8 o'clock kickoff, and whoever gets to the final, Sporting Braga or Freiburg, are waiting for them. Tonight's match, Forest Villa, the first leg, live in talkSPORT. So are we at 11:30. We'll keep our eye on Newcastle. Members of PIF travel into Newcastle this week for their annual meeting with the club's departmental heads. How high on the agenda do you think Eddie Howe's name is going to be, Alex?
I think it has to be pretty high because it's been a disappointing season. There's no two ways about that. They're a lot lower down the Premier League table than he would have expected at the start of the campaign. Looks like they're not going to get European football at all next season, which might help them in the long run because I think they found it a struggle balancing Champions League and domestic ambitions. But if I was Eddie Howe, I'd have some questions for the owners. You know, there's players who want out of that football club. Anthony Gordon being one. Sandro Tonali, I don't think it was a coincidence that his agent was leaking stories that Arsenal were interested in January. Tino Livramento, I'm told, has no intention of signing a new contract. But they've got to handle this summer a lot better than they did last. The Alexander Isak saga was allowed to drift on for far too long. If they were going to sell him all along, as I understand was the case, they should have done it much earlier in the window. They would have been in a better position to get top targets, because if Newcastle fans think that Nick Voltemada and Johan Wissa were anywhere near the top of Newcastle's list of potential options at the start of the summer, they're deluded. I think the recruitment was poor. I think the handling of the Isak situation was poor. And I would say be careful what you wish for, because this is a manager who's come in, he inherited a club who were battling against relegation. He's took them into the...
Mikel Arteta was incredibly fuming to see Arsenal's late penalty in Madrid overturned. Former Premier League ref Chris Foy thinks he's right to be miffed.
But you can clearly see there's contact on the boot of Eder, who goes to ground. And as I said, the on-field decision is penalty. Was it a clear and obvious error, in my opinion? No, but he recommended a review.
The second leg is live on talkSPORT next Wednesday. Meanwhile, Arsenal women have a run of Saturday Wednesdays to define their season. Their head coach is Renee Schlegers.
It's going to be short turnaround, so there's 2-3 days in between our games, which we're used to. We love to be in this position, and that's why we have all these players ready to go.
They beat Leicester 7-0 to move within 8 points of WSL leaders Man City. Arsenal crucially with 2 games in hand. Now, with the Saudis about to pull the plug on funding Live Golf, should Newcastle fans be worried? The Athletic's Newcastle correspondent Chris Waugh says no.
A lot of people are asking the question, and why a lot of Newcastle fans may have doubts given the concerns about the lack of infrastructure investment in the big ticket items at Newcastle so far, which really are the stadium and the new training ground.
And a 7-year-old golfer has become the youngest Briton to record a verified hole-in-one. Freddie Kello hit a 7-iron on a par 3 at Carris Green Golf Club in Kendal.
I was shocked because I didn't feel like it went in, but until my dad started screaming, I thought it went in.
On his phone. More at talksport.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
It's that time, and on this occasion, it's a time that I particularly like because Simon is outnumbered 2 Scots to 1 Englishman. We're joined by Sean Martin from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the odds around some of the top sporting events as Simon attempts to get his earpiece in his ear-hole. Sean, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How we doing?
Good. I know that wasn't the introduction that you were predicting, but anyway, that's the best I could do. Sean, very good indeed, mate. The Champions League action last night. So what did we see? We saw Arsenal leaving the Metropolitano in Madrid with a 1-1 draw. So what do you guys make of it this morning?
Yeah, well, the draw at just over 2-1 did indeed prove to be the shout in the end, didn't it? Stark contrast to the game the night before. 2, almost 3 penalties and all to play for at the Emirates next week. It's moved Arsenal in slightly in the outright odds. They're now 9-4. Atletico out a point from 7s to 8s. And looking at the odds to qualify from the second leg, Arsenal 3-10. So heavy favourites there. But curiously, we also have PSG favourites to do the same in the other tie, even though the second leg is in Munich. They're 10-13 to go through. Bayern almost even money at 49-50. Sorry, given Arsenal looked pretty toothless, I think it's fair to say again last night, and I think I'm right in saying even defensively they coughed up like 18 shots, 3 or 4 big chances at that end as well. Do your guts tell you that Arsenal cope with either of those teams if they get to the final?
What do your guts tell you?
Oh no, my gut tells me that they overcome Atletico because I don't think Atletico are that much, but I don't think they overcome PSG. I think you're right in your bookies mentality because that's what your job is to be. That it will be PSG that overcome Bayern Munich.
Do you think so? Yeah.
I do. I think the PSG are no respecters of home and away situations. I think they'll play the opposition rather than the stadium. I think they're good enough and big enough players to take it wherever they feel like taking it. And I think they'll deal with Bayern Munich. I think it'll be another compelling game. And I think it'll be a PSG-Arsenal final. And I think Arsenal will have to be very, very good. And PSG will have to be 20% off their axis for Arsenal to win that game. So I would suggest, on the balance of probabilities, that we're going to see Nasser's team retaining the Champions League.
Okay, interesting. Now, Europa League tonight, Simon and I have been talking about Forest and Villa. You probably heard it, Sean. But Conference League as well tonight. So this man's Crystal Palace in against Shakhtar Donetsk. I think that's going to be played in Krakow in Poland. Rayo Vallecano Strasbourg. Ironically, with Gary O'Neill at the helm, as Simon pointed out to me a short time ago. So where are we going with all of that? And the Europa League probably first, Sean.
I'll start with Palace actually. Yeah, they're away in Poland to face Shakhtar Donetsk. 19-20 favourites Palace to win the night. To win tonight, 33-100 though. 33-100, sorry. So big favourites to qualify as well. They did beat Ukrainian opposition earlier in the season in Dynamo Kiev, albeit they're 4th in the league, and I think Shakhtar are running away with it. So this will probably be a sterner test, and it's also Shakhtar's 3rd European semi-final in the past 10-11 years, and obviously Palace's first ever. So they're big favourites, but it's never that straightforward at this kind of stage of the competition.
So Palace are away, right? So I mean, it would appear to me, if my memory serves me right, that a lot of their knockout stages have been Palace playing the first leg at home. Is that right?
I think you are right.
That's correct. They beat Fiorentina, didn't they? And then they played against the Ointment team, Arnica, and they played the first leg at home again. And so this time round, they're playing the first leg away, which would appear to cede the advantage with them. But Shakhtar Donetsk are no mugs, are they?
All right. You're showing off a bit, but that was good.
Good knowledge, wasn't it?
Yeah, good knowledge.
Shakhtar and Krakow, I think it's 6 games, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. So it's not even as if there's a massive home advantage there or anything.
I'd love Palace to get to that final.
Nice city, Krakow, by the way.
Is it really?
Lovely city.
I haven't been.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you lived there.
No, I went there because I went to, well, it wasn't so nice. I went to Auschwitz, which is not too far from
Krakow. Of course, yeah, of course. All right, so at the moment, it's looking good for Palace in terms of the odds, is it, Sean, did you say?
Yeah, so in terms of this game, they're 19-20 favourites to qualify, 33-100.
Okay. Are we going to concentrate on Forest Villa, Forest?
Yeah, of course,
Who are you thinking? I mean, Forest might have to go some tonight to get an advantage going into the second leg.
Yeah, well, I think undoubtedly that is the main event in the football tonight, isn't it? An all-English major European semi, the first since Man United Arsenal in 2009. Not even just all English, all Midlands. as well. Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa. Forest's first major European semi in 42 years. Both, got to say, both in pretty good form. Villa 1 loss in 5, but especially Forest. I heard you talking about them just before I came on there. No losses in 8 and scored 9 goals in their last 2 games. Morgan Gibbs White obviously in brilliant form as well. Villa not actually won at the City Ground since both sides were in the Championship, but you've got the Unai Emery Europa League factor as well. I heard the last Villa caller you had on mentioning that there, and to be honest, you can see potential value in both sides. I would say 33-20 for Forest to win at home, 13-8 for Villa to win away tonight, 9-4 for the draw. Villa are marginal favourites to qualify, speaking to what Simon was talking about over the 2 legs. But in terms of a wee bet tonight, I've been enjoying a double chance selection lately, actually. So I'm thinking Forest or the draw, given it's at the City Ground in their form, Palace or the draw, and over 2.5 goals in both of those games. That comes in at around 6.5-1, guys.
What's a 0-0 tonight at the City Ground?
Exactly, for the City Ground.
Yeah.
For the City game.
Yeah.
City Ground,
well, he's working that out. I'm just thinking it's going to be such a tight run thing tonight. I can't really pick a winner. And I'm not
Forest.
And I'm not sure we're going to see goals.
Well, we've seen goals from Forest, and they score goals, and they've conceded goals a lot of the time this season. Now they've tightened up. Yeah. No, I think we'll see goals.
Yeah.
I don't know how many goals we'll see, but I definitely think we'll see goals. If the balance of probability, I would probably go with a draw. But I hope Forest win so that it becomes a real game.
Okay.
At Villa Park.
Yeah.
Villa have got to overcome adversity, and it's a blood and thunder.
Sorry, Sean, I put you on the spot a bit there with that.
No, all good. All good. I've got to say, I agree with Simon. I think there will be goals. That's why I've done the over 2.5. But no, it's 8.5-1, Jim. So it's good odds if you do think it will be.
Okay.
Why do you want those odds? Who cares about 0-0?
No, I know.
Why are you fixating on that?
I don't really know. I sort of went off at a tangent there. What I do know is Charlie Robertson would have got the 0-0 odds much quicker. Here's the thing. The BetMGM Premier League darts, night 12 in beautiful Aberdeen. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I was going to talk about the Championship a wee bit, Jim. But
why not? No, let's do that, and then we'll talk about the darts, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Just because it's such a big day on Saturday, and
I've just realised that Simon might leave us during this. He's got his passport out. Anyway, on you go, Sean. Thanks.
All 12:30 Saturday kickoffs. Ipswich obviously dropped points midweek, and it did open the door slightly for Millwall and Middlesbrough, but ultimately it is all in Ipswich's hands. They're 27-100 favourites to beat QPR at home. They have nothing really tangible to play for. The eyes, I imagine, of many will be on the race for that last playoff spot. Yeah. Wrexham in pole position, but their goal difference is just 1 better than Hull, who are on the same points. Both have got difficult matches.
They're playing Middlesbrough, Wrexham.
Yeah, Wrexham 29-20, actually slim favourites, but 29-20 nonetheless at home to Middlesbrough, who need to win and hope for slip-ups elsewhere to get automatic promotion. Hull at 8-11 to win at home to Norwich, and yes, Norwich don't technically have anything to play for, but they are in good form. They've only lost 2 of their last 12, and then one to keep a wary eye on with those 2 games in mind is Derby County against Sheffield United, because Derby are only a point off of Wrexham and Hull, and they've actually only spent 1 match day in the top 6 all season, but they're playing Sheffield United safely ensconced in 15, so nothing to play for. Derby 8-11 to win that game, guys, but should Wrexham and Hull slip up even to a draw, it's 7-2 odds for Derby to sneak in at the last and finish top 6, which could be well worth a look. And to be honest, would be a very Championship thing to happen.
It's a fabulous run. It's
brilliant.
I think I'm right. The last time Wrexham entertained one of the sides in the top 4 positions in the league, they got smashed by Southampton 5-1 at home. So they've got an ability to get beat. I mean, I have to be geographically, politically correct, given where Michelle comes from, and advocate for Hull. But Hull are put the bed, haven't they? They were the ones in the box seat, and they're the ones that have allowed Wrexham to come in.
I'd be surprised if you back Wrexham, because Welsh people hate you. But
I lived in Wales.
You lived in Wales. You lived in Swansea,
yes,
didn't you?
Did. See.
Where hasn't this man lived? Night 12 in Aberdeen, then the BetMGM Premier League darts, Sean. Finish it off for us.
I'll hazard a guess he's not lived in Aberdeen, but I
haven't lived in Scotland, and I don't want to either. No, I haven't lived in Scotland. Thank you very much.
No, I can't imagine you living in Union Street in Aberdeen. Go on.
I spent most of my 20s in Aberdeen, actually. Brilliant city. We'll defend it to the hilt, so I will. But
Granite City.
That's right. It was a Young Offenders Institute, wasn't it? On you go, Sean. Thanks.
Alex Licence is actually travelling all the way up to that today, so he's on a train. Somewhere he's on a train at this point. I've talked that right up to him. I'll tell you that. It's a city with a history of Premier League 9 darters as well, though, Jim. Only London had more than Aberdeen's 3 perfect legs in the Premier League history until Belfast also overtook it earlier this season. Gerwyn Price hit one in the North East last season. It's 6-1 for one at any point tonight, and that would obviously bag a player a set of custom-made 18-carat gold darts on us, like Josh Rock got for hitting that one in Belfast. In terms of the league table, Johnny Clayton and Luke Littler both at least 10 points clear of everyone else at this point after they both got to the final again last week. Littler won it this time. As usual, 4 top quality quarterfinals tonight, but immediately you've got to be looking at the last one, which is Luke Humphries versus Michael van Gerwen. I keep waiting on Humphries to click and just run roughshod over the others one night.
Yeah.
And it's not happened yet.
Happening.
And
No.
really, this one he could be doing with winning, at least winning his quarter-final, because MVG is in that 4th spot and 5 clear of Humphries, so essentially a full nightly win above him. Humphries is 7-10 to win, to beat Van Gerwen in that opener, 5-1 to finally win a night. But we got a glimpse of almost the old MVG last week. He hit 14 180s, so if he's anything like that tonight, it might be difficult for Humphries again, you'd think, Jim.
Terrific. Sean, thank you very much indeed, Aberdeen. I remember going up to Aberdeen Rangers to cover it for Sky, and an old fella was coming out the front door in a tweed jacket, and I said, "How are you doing? You looking forward to the game?" And he looked at me and said, "You're not welcome here." I'll never forget it. That was a look at the latest odds thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begamblerware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Look, Jose will always live in Chelsea fans' heart, okay? Because what he achieved and what he done for that football club. But Jose changed as a man. As the game has changed, I don't doubt he still has a quality. But I just find it crazy.
What do you mean?
Well, they've gone from, Real Madrid have gone from moving away from Zidane, okay? Then they went to Ancelotti. And then they brought in Alonso, right? They wanted to go in a different direction, slightly, moving with this slightly younger head coach. And now they're going back to Jose again. They sound a bit lost. Sounds a little bit like they're going back to what they know.
Yeah, but I hear you. And Julian Lorenz made some really good points there. I think Jose Mourinho in a bad fit. I think they thought that they wanted to be they've got Galactico side, right, with players again with Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Bellingham, players like that, right? They wanted to have like an Alonso coach who can make them play football. And they realised these players have got big egos. And they always have when you're at Real Madrid. Real Madrid is full of egos. Ancelotti knew how to control them egos. Who is a manager who knows how to control big egos?
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho.
I'm not saying he doesn't tick any boxes, but he will leave.
Do you need to have brilliant tactics when you've got them world-class players?
No, Jose obviously knows his way around a tactic board. He's
not an idiot. Of course he's not.
But there will be that the wheels will fall off. And he's the sort of manager now that I just don't know whether I just think
Benfica unbeaten.
name is Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. Thursday being Thursday at 12 noon. Spencer Oliver will drift through under the door as usual, and he will join us for the final hours. We will talk boxing. In the meantime, let's concentrate on golf, and more specifically, Live Golf and the Live Golf Tour, because it's expected that Saudi Arabia will confirm today that it is indeed ending its financial backing of the Live Golf Tour after a fortnight of pretty intense speculation that the Saudi Public Investment Fund, PIF, was planning to announce its withdrawal. The Wall Street Journal says players will be informed today that the money is going to be cut off from this point onwards. talkSPORT's golf correspondent is Rupert Bell, and Rupert joins us live. Rupert, we debated this the other day with Simon, and we pretty much agreed, yeah, this is on the horizon and it will come about. And now we know it is coming about. So how would you look back on this spell of this phenomenon that was called Live Golf?
Well, they came in to rattle a few cages. They did that, but unfortunately, what they haven't done is bring the great sporting public along with them. It's very hard to suddenly break down the sort of barriers. They thought that they could do it, and with the Saudi money, with the billions that they were pouring into it, that they could reshape golf. Well, the Saudis, for whatever reason, we don't know the official reason, have decided to pull the plug. But one of the thoughts may be, obviously, what's going on around it. The Middle East may have been having an impact, and they're looking at all their investments. But actually, from a TV perspective and outside, are they getting the response they wanted to the product that they hoped? And it has to be said, probably not. Despite the fact they've got John Rahm, who was paid millions to join, and Bryson DeChambeau, it probably hasn't broken down out of the sort of traditional tours that we see. And that may have been one of the reasons the Saudis said, well, we tried, but we can't sort of break down those that glass ceiling.
Yeah, the strange thing to me, and Simon's going to come in on this, obviously, was that it seems within Live Golf, not everybody, Rupert, was on the same page. I mean, as recently as a few days ago, the Live chief executive, Scott O'Neill, was saying, no, hang on, there's life in this yet.
How we go forward is what I'm really excited about. I talked about some structural changes. They're coming. You can ask just about the 50 people I met in Augusta. I rolled out the plan. We have one, and it might surprise some people. But I will tell you, like this notion of bringing teams to market. I had 2 calls this morning. You know, this notion of, do you have to raise money? Probably. Like, this is business, you know, but if we keep the trajectory going the way we are and the revenue growth going, this is going to be a really good business for a really long time. And I have to ask you one thing. I'm American. I love the U.S. market. It's the #1 TV market in the world, period, end of sentence. The #1 sponsorship market in the world, period, end of sentence. In golf, in sport. But long term, do you want to bet on 340 million people or 7.5 billion people? That's all I'm saying. That's the only difference, is I'm taking a 7.5 billion person bet. And that's something we should be excited about, because golf should be seen around the world with some of the biggest stars in the game. And that's what we're doing.
So, I mean, Scott O'Neill there, Simon, and no doubt Rupert got the same impression, was pretty darn punchy about going forward.
Sure. So just because the Saudis are turning off the money doesn't mean that he's not able to suggest that there's a proof of concept that's got something off the ground that needs to be refinanced, repositioned, recalibrated, re-energized. I mean, to me, the Saudis, as much as they have vision in other spaces, I don't think their vision was right here. I think it was a project without direction. I think certain people got their agendas served out, whether it be Greg Norman or other people, whatever. Yeah. But in this instance, I think this man cannot be as obtuse to suggest that there isn't a future for this proposition if he's talking about the fact it's going in a different direction. So that tells me, if I'm to read that room, is that maybe the financing is being turned off by the Saudis, but maybe something else is coming into that structure that introduces private equity funding, introduces other partners. Right. Might be a partnership deal with the Saudis. It means the Saudis haven't got to put any more money up. It might be a variety of things. Right. But that's not a white flag to the proposition of Live. It's an understanding going forward that the Saudis have decided that we're not going to keep bankrolling it at the level that we bankrolled it at. Yeah.
So it begs the question, Rupert, does Live have a future without Saudi funding?
Well, Scott O'Neill believes it does. They are talking, they've got investors, but it's not going to be able to drive the investment that the Saudis are, who are writing a blank check. The new investors will be wanting a return on their investment. Because I remember asking at the press conference, and Liv, what's your long-term plan about making it profitable? They didn't seem to have one. They weren't concerned about that. But anybody else coming in, you can bet that the hard-earned dollar that they'll be putting into it, that they'll want to see some return. And what the problem is, the likes of Bryson DeChambeau, what sort of contract is he going to sign on? What new players are going to want to join it with this sort of uncertainty? Because a lot of the players are at the end of their career. Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, while yes, big names, but they're not moving the dial, and where their golf game is, their peaks behind them, however much they may want to say. And, you know, of course, they are competitive on Live Golf, but on a wider scale, what young golfer is going to think that this is a prudent career move? And some of them now will be scrambling to get back onto the major tours, whether it be the DP World Tour or some finding a pathway back to the PGA Tour. So
sure.
I see it. It's not straightforward that this has a long-term future. Yes, the crowds have been fantastic in Adelaide, South Africa. The crowds when they have it at the JCB in Staffordshire were terrific. But who's watching it on television? Not enough to justify the sponsor involvement. It almost feels at times like it's putting on an exhibition in the country that it goes to, because no one's sort of invested in the sporting product that they're trying to claim is right up there and a game changer.
As Rupert does, that's a great summary of it.
Fantastic. It's interesting how the same voices that were forecasting the doom of golf and the traditional golfing landscape are now suggesting that that's going to emerge victorious. I would imagine there's a variety of ways that you can skin this particular cat. If you want to keep the golfers involved in this golf tour, you can build in equity into the opportunity for them, a whole raft of things that are beyond the thinking at this moment in time that may well become part of the thinking, because the proof of developing a tour, developing a proposition has been proven. The fact that it's fallen short on certain aspects, the fact that it's had to have Saudi money bankrolling it to a level which has allowed people to lack the discipline of commercial enterprise to be able to make sure that outcomes are attached to it, is the Saudis' fault. The fact that they've been able to actually achieve something, they've proved that something can be done. They've landed a flag. That flag, that particular concept now needs to be expanded upon, and commercial minds will come in and go, right, what are the lessons? The Saudis, their money brought it to this point. Their money is equally good and bad in equal measure, because it's corrupted and corroded and potentially not achieved for them and for the athletes, because the athletes have really just come for the money.
Yeah.
And now what can we take from it? Now, from that point of view, I would suggest that there'll be another incarnation. We'll see how it goes. And if it keeps, what Liv did in some respect, besides become disruptive, was also in some respects kept the conventional golf tours a little bit honest, because they were able to do what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it with the athletes, and necessarily not reflecting the value of the individuals to the sport and of himself and getting the balance wrong. They got caught in that little bit of that traditional thinking.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, it's evolved the sport. But I bet you the next version will be more sophisticated, more commercially orientated, will feature thinking that involves the reasons why would these golfers stay there? Because maybe they get equity in the business, a whole raft of things.
Well, Rupert, thank you very much indeed. The Saudis very much have got their hands on boxing, and that we know, and we've known for a long time. We'll talk boxing with Spencer Oliver when he joins us after the 12 noon headlines. Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. 03717 223344. Mohammed in Cardiff. Good morning. Where are you at with this then?
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon.
Morning.
Well, congratulations for your winning your award.
Thanks, mate.
But I think this is just another retirement paycheck for both of these fighters. 5 years ago, this fight would have been amazing. Both of them were in their prime. Both of them were world champions. It probably would have been a biggest fight in British boxing history. But now, Fury, you've seen a decline in his last fight. AJ hasn't been the same for a while. And it looks like it's just another big retirement paycheck for the both of them.
Yeah, but Mohammed, you'll watch it, right? You won't miss it.
No, I don't think I watch it, if I'm honest. Like, there's a fight on Saturday, Benavidez versus Ramirez. That's a fight
that's a proper fight. Yeah,
you see, that's a proper fight. Wardley and Dubois is another fight.
That's right.
You know what I mean? There's jeopardy behind it. But this fight is just like Eubank and Ben. It's just another cop-out. Obviously, these two guys have achieved more than Ben and Eubank, but it looks like 5 years ago would have been great, but now I don't think I'd be wasting my time on watching, if I'm honest.
Interesting. Mohammed, listen, thanks for that. Arsenal fan, boxing fan, Keith, we know you. Keith, good morning. You having this fight?
Good morning. I'm doing a favour. What a lot of nonsense. Fury against Joshua. Let me tell you something. Anthony Joshua is one of the luckiest men in the history of British boxing. When he fought in the Olympics, he lost in the first round and he lost in the final, and then he gave him the decision because it was in London.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines at midday, I'm Tom Clayton. Good afternoon. We'll just start with a little bit of breaking news, and that's that Kobbie Mainoo has officially signed his new contract at Manchester United. That's a deal lasting until 2031. That's confirmation this lunchtime. Scott Parker has left Burnley following their relegation back to the Championship. Former Palace chairman Simon Jordan says there's only one standout Burnley manager in their Premier League era.
Sean Dyche. Because Sean Dyche absolutely worked the oracle. Sean Dyche took them into the Premier League, kept them in the Premier League, took them into Europe, punched way above their weight class.
Well, Sean Dyche is co-hosting talkSPORT Breakfast tomorrow morning. Assistant Mike Jackson is in interim charge till the summer. Craig Bellamy and Stephen Gerrard are in the frame to take over in the summer. Burnley go to Leeds tomorrow night. That's a talkSPORT exclusive. England captain Leah Williamson has signed a new contract with Arsenal. The defender has extended for for 2 years more and has made over 250 appearances since her 2014 debut. Ashley Young says it feels nice to be retiring from football at the age of 40. He's played 765 professional games. He's now focused on getting Ipswich back up to the Premier League. The last automatic spot will be decided on the final day, live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. And is this the beginning of the end of golf's civil war? Saudi Arabia are pulling funding for the Live Tour. Yasser Al Rumayyan, the PIF governor and Live Golf chairman, is set to leave the board, with new members about to be announced. World Golf Hall of Famer Dame Laura Davis hopes big-name Live players like Bryson DeChambeau, Tyrrell Hatton and John Rahm will all be welcomed back to the PGA Tour.
I think the players on the PGA Tour have earned a lot of money because of Live, so I don't see how they can have that much problem. It almost feels like everything has to be dialed back a little bit. The prize money's out of control.
Get more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The PM says the justice system must respond swiftly and visibly to yesterday's North London terror attack. And as predicted, the Bank of England has held the base rate of interest. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Keep spring journeys safe. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com to book your tyres, MOTs and servicing so you can drive away happy every time.
A fine day with lots of sunshine, cloudier in parts of the southwest with some spells of rain in Cornwall, warm and still quite windy.
He's the current undefeated Super Bantamweight Champion
Sports Journalism Award winner Spencer Oliver joins myself and Simon this lunchtime. It was a good night the other night, Spencer. I was delighted to see you there in the winner's podium. At least you made the effort.
Yeah, I did, Jim. Yeah, it was a cracking night, actually. I did apologise for Simon Jordan not turning up again for was it the fourth time, fifth time?
Oh, he never bothers. He never. As always, the other night I got a message just before the categories were announced. Did I win? And I just hobbled up with your good self and collected it. It was fine.
I think it was fine.
I read it wrong. I said I was having a gin.
I think my speech was actually better than what Simon would have delivered anyway, if I'm honest, Jim.
Spencer, I have to say,
it was heartfelt. It was
heartfelt. I was reduced to tears at some stages. I mean, 3 hours you went on for, but it was terrific.
It was.
And well done.
And the tears continued flowing down my face. The emotions overwhelmed me.
Like they do every time I do.
Because Simon Jordan wasn't there, I was so happy.
You were overcome with emotion. It was great to see you, and well done. Now, after all that, here we go again. AJ is fighting Fury. It's official. And we really do believe it this time, because Frank was on the other day saying, yeah, it's done, it's made, it's going to be happening.
Tyson signed up for it months ago. I already told you that we've been waiting for AJ, and he's now done it. So the fight will be on, and it'll be on sometime, I think, in October by the looks of it. So that's really where we are. You know, I think Tyson will be a big favourite in this fight, a big favourite, and I think he'll win the fight, and I think he'll stop AJ.
So now we know the two of them will fight, and it'll be later this year. Spencer, when we look down the years at great fights of this kind of nature, Nigel Benn Eubank Sr., Lennox Lewis, Frank Bruno, Froch Groves, Bellew Hay, the list goes on. Amir Khan, Kell Brook, Simon, you and I were at that. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. I was at that. He didn't go. Where does this matchup rank?
It matches up right up there, obviously, because they're the two best heavyweights of this modern era.
There or at the very top?
Right up there. I think that, look, if you look back to Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank, especially Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank 1 and Lewis Bruno, they were huge events. This is a huge event as well. I mean, we can go back as far as 1985 when you're talking about Errol Christie and Mark Kaler. You go, they were massive because it was just terrestrial TV. You know, so things have changed. The dynamic has changed somewhat. But this is up there with all of them for sure.
Do you now you're nodding, but I don't think you thought that at the start of the week. You weren't particularly having.
No, I'm not because I don't particularly have any investment or interest in Tyson Fury for the reasons that we've laid out and rehearsed 100 times. But as far as the spectacle is concerned, it's undeniable. I mean, whether they were at the back end of their careers, the interesting thing for me would be when we look back, and Spencer makes a really good point about the linear broadcasters being so dominant. When Barry McGuigan fought at QPR against Pedrosa, he had 19-20 million people watching him. These people could only dream of those numbers. You get those when you get on Netflix. It's got 320 million audiences now. The interesting thing would be, because we've now moved, because Frochi started it, moved into stadiums, would these guys back in the day have filled stadiums like these guys are now? Because it's a live event. You're going to get, if they can get 100,000 into Wembley, it's 90,000. If they can get 100,000 to Wembley, they're going to get 100,000 in to see Fury versus Joshua. I don't know whether back in the day you'd have got 100,000 in to watch Nigel Benn versus Chris Eubank.
I think you make a good point there.
Maybe you would have done.
No, I think you make a good point, because I think that back in the day it was more your boxing fan. Now it has become an event, a spectacle. You know, it's not. You don't get your your boxing fans that go to these events because it's a great night out.
Of course,
there's more to it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a massive sporting spectacle.
Oh yeah, and the build-up's going to go on and on.
Absolutely.
And on.
I think there were better fights out there, but there were not better spectacles.
How much jeopardy do you need though in a warm-up fight, Spencer? I mean, Joshua's announced his comeback against a fairly little-known Albanian, Christian Brenga, in Saudi Arabia on July the 25th. What does he need? What does he need from that? Obviously, he's got to win the damn thing, but what does he need?
Well, his circumstances, Anthony Joshua's, are different, aren't they? Because of the tragedies that he's been through, losing a couple of friends out in Nigeria. So he's going in there for different reasons. It's not about getting rid of the ring rust. We saw that in December against Jake Paul. You know, he went through that. You know, the ring rust. All right, it was not at that level, but it's all about the ring walk, putting the gloves back on, the whole event, smelling the arena, all of that sort of stuff. For Anthony Joshua now, he's going in there to see how he deals with the demons that are in his head. You know, he's been through a tragic time. And they were not just friends of his that he lost, but an integral part of his training camp as well. you know, that have been with him a long time.
Yeah.
A big part of his life, right? So he's going in there for different reasons. So you have to allow him that. And Christian Penga, who comes with a great record of 21 fights, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. But you look at it, the one loss that he had was against a guy that had won 2, lost 6, drawn 2 back in 2017.
Right.
Yeah, to give you some sort of idea.
Yeah.
But you have to allow Anthony Joshua that to go in there and see, you know, how he's going to deal with this occasion, to see if he can deal with it.
Right.
For the fight with Tyson Fury.
That's a dispensation. If you listen to when I watched the Ariel Helwani show the other day with Lou DiBella on it, talking about the fact there's nothing for Anthony to learn in this fight. He's not going to get warmed up in the fight because he's fighting against somebody that's a nightclub bouncer. He'll knock him out and knock him out in quick order. If it is indeed because it needs to get him back into the psychological circumstance of overcoming the circumstances that happened to him in the tragedy of December and being centered in the fight, then you have to allow that. The interesting thing will be, the problem is that if that means he fights on July 25th, which he does, I don't believe they can fight again by the end of September. And my nose tells me they've got a contract which says they have to fight by the end of September. The next thing you'll hear is when they're going to fight. And if it gets pushed out to October, November, which it may well do, Fury's going to step in and say, despite what you think, that I want another fight. I want another fight because I don't want to be out of the ring for 8 months. And they can't help themselves, despite they'll negotiate their deals individually with Turkey. No one of them is going to give the other one a yard because they've got big egos, and rightly so. They both think they're the A side. And the moment one says they're going to want to do something, the other's going to say they want to do something different.
Well, Frank's suggesting they'll fight in October.
Yeah, well, listen, it is a good possibility. I think that there will be a lot of money on the table, and Anthony Joshua comes through July 25th. Hopefully, Tyson Fury decides not to have another warm-up fight. I don't think he needs that. Makhmudov, he got the 12 rounds under his belt. I know he was 16 months out, but he doesn't need that. At this stage of his career, Tyson Fury is now prepared and ready. Anthony Joshua comes through in July. I think we can get it in October. Just to go back to that Ariel Helwani statement that he said there, I think it's an absolute joke. There's a guy there that's talking that clearly doesn't know about boxing and what the boxer has to go through. When you say, what's he going to get from it? He's fighting a doorman. Mate, do you know what he's just been through? We're talking about we're talking about the psychological side here, not the physicalities and what he's going to get and getting rid of the ring rust. Embarrassing statement.
But to some extent, I understand. It wasn't him; it was Lou DiBella said it. But
even worse from Lou DiBella, who knows boxing.
Well, so that's my point. It was someone that does know boxing. But what he was talking about was there is no way that Anthony Joshua, put aside the tragedy and the circumstance. If he chooses to fight, then we have to put that aside because he's going to have to put it aside, right? Fighting Jake Paul and a tomato can is not going to prepare him for Tyson Fury, who's back at a level. We've just seen him fight a legitimate fighter that's inside the top 20 in the world. So none of this is going to prepare Anthony Joshua for the best version of himself to be prepared for Tyson Fury for what looks like a one and done situation, which it inevitably won't be because there's more money to be had. You know, and if you look at Anthony, I would have thought that irrespective of clearing the cobwebs and the demons, there needed to be a slightly more credible challenge so that not only can he deal with the psychological trauma, he has to deal with the physical trauma because Jake Paul was not a fight. This is not a fight. This was somebody that ran around the ring for 7 rounds or however long it lasted to sell Anthony into the American media. The last fight he had, real fight, was against Otto Wallin.
Right. Who's the villain of the piece?
The last real fight was Daniel Dubois, wasn't it? September 2024.
And what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But that's the last real fight
that he won.
Yeah,
we always like to have a villain of the piece, don't we? Is Fury that person? Get into this.
No, I don't think so. No.
Why would he be?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the dial has moved in recent years. In terms of popularity, we're a long way from liftoff for AJ and Fury rising from the canvas in Wilder 1.
Are we?
Yeah. Listen.
We're way further down the road from there.
But Anthony Joshua is still considered to be the golden boy of British boxing. Just because he's gotten beaten, they still admire and laud him. And just because Fury is a boorish oaf at times doesn't necessarily mean that people just don't admire his achievements.
And I still think that they're very much at a level. They're still 2 world-class fighters. It's not like one of them's deteriorated like a Deontay Wilder situation. These guys are still at the top. They might not be as good as what they once was when you go back to like Vladimir Klitschko, the AJ's finest night, and you go look at the trilogy that Fury had with Deontay Wilder, and you go, he's not really been the same since then. This is still a huge fight with 2 top fighters at this stage of their careers.
You can't see past Joshua, I presume.
I think it's a great fight. It really is. It's a great fight. Look, at this stage of their career, we don't know until we see Anthony Joshua. July the 25th.
Are you going to be?
It's a 50-50 fight.
Do you envisage tipping Fury?
No, I'm not tipping Fury.
No.
Do you know I'm not tipping Fury?
You're not going.
I'm tipping Anthony Joshua. You
would say Fury.
Based on what?
Based on Tyson Fury slowing down somewhat. What we saw against Makhmudov is that Tyson Fury is getting hit more. All right, there was an element of ring rust to be talked about in that as well, but Fury was getting hit more, and I think just stylistically, Anthony Joshua has the style. He throws those straight shots down the middle, quite explosive, and I think that at this stage of their careers, that gives Anthony Joshua more of a chance, and it makes a difference.
On their race to the bank, it'll be who has diminished the least. Joshua was cleaned out, destroyed by Daniel Dubois. Tyson Fury has not been destroyed. He's been beaten. I think he was beaten in both fights, and he can dream as much as he wants about the fact that he won those fights. But he was in those fights. He was in those fights.
Yeah.
Whereas Anthony Joshua was beaten up by Usyk in the first fight, held himself a bit better in the second fight, but lost as well, but was destroyed by Dubois.
Valid point.
So I think that the Fury that we're seeing is still the level above Anthony Joshua, and I think Fury will win that fight.
Do you think there's more intrigue in this fight now, as it's a closer fight than maybe it once was? When you're weighing these two up at this stage of their career, it's probably a more entertaining fight than maybe it was.
I'd like to know, but I'd like the hubris of the feeling that they are unbeatable. I know that Anthony lost that relatively early after losing to Ruiz, but he gained it back again, and I did it so great. I did it, I loved it so much. I did it twice, so it was nonsense. He was back into the rhythm. I'd like to have seen them walk into that ring where there's no damage to them. In the back of their minds, they both lost now repeatedly, so it's a different set of animals going in there.
By far the biggest fight in British boxing still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, as and when it happens, we'll bring you the news first and fastest. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Whatever happened to the traditional cagey semi-final affair? The first leg of this semi-final, the highest scoring of any in Champions League history. Now, on Amazon, Vincent Kompany spoke post-match, and he tried to describe what we'd just seen.
Yeah, I would say, well, what do you want? Do you want teams that... I think you've seen a lot of good defending today. Intense duels and this, but it's just the margins are so little, and you only have two ways. So the first one is to go full, or the second one is to retreat fully. The in-between doesn't work against that level of players. The in-between doesn't work against our level of players.
Well, Vincent doesn't exactly see it as Wayne Rooney saw it. We saw some good defending. Vincent, what? Wayne Rooney, at this level, we have seen some brilliance, but we've seen some immature defending, which is crazy. He's not wrong, Dan.
There was some poor defending, yeah. But the problem you've got is when you play the way those two teams do, you're going to isolate people 1v1. And you can call it poor defending or you can just call it brilliant forward play. It's nearly impossible if you're one-on-one with someone with electric pace and good skill, because they can go both ways, to stop them. Kvaratskhelia goal, for example, or when you've got Elise one-on-one, you're in a world of trouble. So, I think rather than focus on whether there was good or bad defending, what I enjoyed most is that styles make fights. You've got two teams who think they're the best.
Now then, first day of May tomorrow. Once we get through that, we're looking at June. On the 6th of June, Chris Billum-Smith is back in action, and he faces the Canadian Ryan Rozicki down in the South Coast at the Bournemouth International Centre. The 6th of June, as I say, for that. Chris Billum-Smith, the former WBO Cruiserweight champion. Now, this will be Billum-Smith's first bout in more than a year since he beat the American Brandon Glanton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But life has changed for Chris Billum-Smith because he will headline Zuffa Boxing's first show here in the UK. Just before we came on air, I spoke with Chris Billum-Smith. I said, okay, Zuffa. Why Zuffa?
Just the opportunities they've got. I mean, obviously, you look at the powerhouses they are in Dana White, Nick Khan, everything behind it. The Sky Sports deal as well is fantastic. I've always loved boxing on Sky. And also they've got Jai Opetaia. You know, that's a fight I'm going to want. And I'm in this sport to box the best. And I think I've proven that in the past, in the unification, fighting Lawrence and whoever it may be, even when I've been the underdog. So I'm in it for my own reasons, and that's to box the best. And everyone sees Jai as the best, so it's to get in there, box him, and prove that I'm the best. And so yeah, they're the main three reasons. It's those three there.
So you mentioned Jai Opetaia very early on, Chris, in this chat. Do all roads, as far as you're concerned, lead to a fight against him?
Yeah, for sure. I think that fight's going to happen. I don't think if you're starting out with a new organisation who aren't going to work probably with other promoters, that you can't start avoiding people in your weight division. There's not many cruiserweight signed to Zuffa, so it's going to be unlikely that you're going to be fighting others from elsewhere unless they sign into Zuffa. But you know, he wants an opponent. He's been very vocal in the past. He wants to fight me. I've been the same. So yeah, you know, I've come over to get that fight.
You're right, Chris. He has called you out in the past. It didn't happen up until this point. There was nothing in stories that you were in any way avoiding him, was it?
Well, no, I don't understand that. His narrative towards that. It was. I said I'd fight him in November or December. And he said, no, I'm going to fight in October. And I said, okay, then I'll go and fight somebody else for a unification. And I did. So I think that showed there. But look, I think even this move alone shows my intent. If I was trying to avoid him, I wouldn't sign with his promoter. And when he was at the time, the only cruiserweight other than Brandon Glanton that they had.
I know he's not on the agenda in the immediate future. We'll get to that. But in Opetaia, he's a ferocious character. Of that, there is no doubt, Chris. But you think you could overcome him?
Yeah, for sure. I believe I can beat anyone in the world at the best of when I'm on my game. I believe I can beat anyone in the world, including Zerdo. So yeah, that's always been my belief, and it's about just getting things right.
Chris, what are you facing then in this Canadian Ryan Rozicki?
Yeah, a huge puncher. You know, you look at his record: 21 wins, 20 knockouts. So yeah, he's a ferocious puncher. He looks like he's got really long levers, and he doesn't have power in just one shot. It's not like he's just got a big right hand or just got a big left hook. All his shots carry power. And
then you overcome Rozicki, and then you're talking about Opetaia. That's right.
Yeah, possibly that could happen. You know, Jai might want to fight earlier than, you know, in a couple of months, because he's obviously boxed in March. So we'll see. So I think it'll be either next or if not, the one after that. So yeah, we'll see.
Chris, a huge weekend coming up. Gilberto Ramirez takes on David Benavidez. I remember, of course, you lost to Ramirez. How much did that take out of you, in mental terms as well? What did it take from you?
Took a look out at me physically at the time, obviously, but and probably for a period after, you know, had to really dig deep in that fight, broken rib, etc. But yeah, you know, and it hurts to lose, but whatever it takes out of you, it also puts back in you twofold. I think when you get back in the gym and you think, right, okay, I can't let that happen again. So that's how I felt now. I felt really revitalized at the moment, and Shane's seen it in the gym, and yeah, we're both really excited for the improvements made. But yeah, that's a fantastic fight on the weekend.
And on that, Ramirez Benavidez, who wins it?
I think Zerdo. I thought it was a really close fight. Literally, I was just edging towards Zerdo, but then when I saw them in the face-off, Zerdo looked much bigger than him, and I was quite surprised by that. Also, Benavidez is talking about going back down after this fight, so I think Zerdo is very good, and I think they've sparred each other in the past, but I think Zerdo's so much more effective in smaller gloves because he's not necessarily a massive puncher, but he's accurate. And I think with the smaller gloves on, I think they really take their toll a lot more. So yeah, I'm edging towards Zerdo, and I think he'll win on points on the weekend.
And with that, Chris Billam-Smith left the seat he was sitting on and went into the ring and started a workout. Spencer alongside Simon this lunchtime. Chris Billam-Smith joining Zuffa for a crack at Jai Opetaia. Essentially, does he win that, Spencer?
No, he doesn't win that. Not in my eyes, anyway. Not against Jai Opetaia, who for me is the elite cruiserweight out there at the moment. I think he'll make his mark in the heavyweight division as well. Look, I understand Chris Billam-Smith. He's been a world champion. He's been there, seen it, done it, and he's now looking for the big opportunity, the big money. The big money in the room, obviously, is Jai Opetaia, and so he's chasing that fight. I understand that. And by the way, listening to his interview there, he will truly believe that he wins that fight because that is the fighter's mentality. And you can't write Chris off because he's one of them guys. It's just so tough. We've seen him in the past where he's under the cosh, taking it, but he doesn't lose that desire. He doesn't lose that will to win. And for that reason, you've got to give him a shot. But Jai Opetaia would start a huge favourite going into.
He's ferocious, Opetaia, Simon, isn't he?
Oh, he is. I mean, I think we're all thrilled for Chris. I was at the fight when he beat Lawrence Okoli at Bournemouth. He was thrilled. I went to the fight when he beat Masternak. It was a harder fight than I think it should have been, but he came through that, and we've just seen what Vidal Riley did to Masternak, which is box his head off for 12 rounds. So Chris has had an opportunity to fight Jai Opetaia. Despite his protestations, Jai Opetaia came on our show and said we offered Chris Billam-Smith to take all the money. Take all the money in the room, I'll fight you for nothing. And Chris didn't want it. Now, the interesting thing will be what happens in Zuffa, because there's a part of me that thinks commercially Zuffa would go after David Benavidez. And if David Benavidez beats Zerdo Ramirez, who, by the way, did a number on Chris in the first round against Zerdo Ramirez was really good, but the next 11 rounds got destroyed, or for the rest of the fight. And you look at it and go, Benavidez beats Zerdo Ramirez. The money fight would be Benavidez versus Jai Opetaia for the cruiserweights inside Zuffa. My God, that would sell, because Benavidez is a star.
Oh, yeah.
And a star across multiple divisions.
Yeah.
So where Chris goes, but I want Chris to get as much opportunity from boxing. He's not called the gentleman for no reason. I was, when he came to see us in Germany, went in 24 when he was over there.
Oh, so he did.
For the Euros.
Yeah.
He's a fabulous company.
Yeah.
I'm delighted he's won a world title, but do I think he beats Jai Opetaia? Not in a month of Sundays.
But also to add to that, do we think that is a great decision to go with Zuffa and chase the money at this stage of his career?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right.
And chase his dreams. Look,
Jai
Opetaia is a pound for pound star, and he will want that opportunity.
He's got a young family.
I think it's a great
right.
Yeah. Chris Billam-Smith speaking to us earlier this morning. It's 12:30 this Thursday lunchtime.
Lincoln City celebrated their title win this weekend and decided this is the big moment to mock Spurs.
What? Oh my God! Up the imps! Up the imps! Jay, Tottenham away, ole ole. That is shameless.
I don't know where to
Tottenham.
go.
Do you know that game now has been built up to something? Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's been a thing because of you. Because of you.
It has nothing to do with me. I'm not.
No, it is. No, it's because of you. You made it a
I'm
thing.
not playing centre off Spurs.
It's just who we are, mate.
It's not my fault you're there.
Oh, it's a killer. Oh, it's a killer. Lincoln away next season.
Mate, don't knock the imps, mate. Up the imps.
Lincoln away.
Ole, ole.
It's a killer. It is. Can
you imagine Spurs start singing Lincoln away, ole, ole?
Well, you know what? We're going to have to. Maybe we're going to have to.
No, Jay, get out of it, mate.
Do you think we'll get out of it?
Jay, I've been saying all along you'll get out of it, right? You'll find a way. I cannot... Look, it's a straight shootout between you and West Ham. Yeah. Up the irons. Straight shootout, mate.
Oh, I can't see it.
I
can't see it.
No, it is a straight shootout between you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but West Ham are decent,
mate. They've been decent.
They've been all right.
Look, you picked up your first victory, right? Roberto Di Sperzi.
At what cost? Solanke and Jamie Simmons out. Season over.
Patch them up, get them out. You got Bergvall back. Yeah. Bentancur's back.
The Bentancur was good.
Right, okay, so you got them back. Stop moaning.
Mikel Arteta was incredibly fuming to see Arsenal's late penalty in Madrid overturned. Former Premier League ref Chris Foy thinks he's right to be miffed.
But you can clearly see there's contact on the boot of Eze who goes to ground. And as I said, the on-field decision is penalty. Was it a clear and obvious error, in my opinion? Nobody recommended a review.
The second leg is live on talkSPORT next Wednesday. Meanwhile, Arsenal women have a run of Saturday Wednesdays to define their season. Their head coach is Renee Schlegers.
It's going to be short turnaround, so there's 2-3 days in between our games, which we're used to. We love to be in this position, and that's why we have all these players ready to go.
They beat Leicester 7-0 to move within 8 points of WSL leaders Man City. Arsenal, crucially, with 2 games in hand. Now, with the Saudis about to pull the plug on funding Live Golf, should Newcastle fans be worried? The Athletic's Newcastle correspondent Chris Waugh says no.
A lot of people are asking the question why a lot of Newcastle fans may have doubts given the concerns about the lack of infrastructure investment in the big ticket items at Newcastle so far, which really are the stadium and the new training ground.
And a 7-year-old golfer has become the youngest Briton to record a verified hole-in-one. Freddie Kello hit a 7-iron on a par 3 at Carris Green Golf Club in Kendal.
I was shocked because I didn't feel like it went in, but until my dad started screaming, I thought it went in.
On his phone. More at talksport.com.
It is Thursday lunchtime. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver, and we are live on talkSPORT. I'm just looking at that. There's Bill, who's a big boxing fan. Love it when Spencer's with you guys on a Thursday. So do we, Bill. So do we. And I'm not just saying that, Spencer.
Well done, Bill.
You're a very popular fella, wherever you go. Here's the thing. We've been talking about Chris Billam-Smith, and he's returning to the ring in June. Ahead of that, at the end of May, Adam Azim will make his return from injury against a fella by the name of Steve Claggett, and they will fight on the 30th of May at Wembley Arena in London. Azim was scheduled to fight Gustavo Lemos in January before picked up an injury. That fight was expected to be rescheduled, but the Argentinian decided to withdraw from the opportunity. So it's Claggett for Azim next. Boxer Chief Executive, the man who promotes Adam Azim, Ben Shalom, joins us live. Ben, good afternoon to you. Adam Azim, is this a chance for him to reignite what could be construed to be a stalling career?
I think it's a massive night for him. Obviously, he had that night now back in November at Spurs, where for me was the performance of the night against Kurt Scobie. Was due to fight on January 31st and had to pull out with an injury. So it was devastating for us. But we wanted to get him out as soon as possible. Gustavo Lemos has pulled out. We don't even know why. He's contracted to fight on May the 30th. And so the team have done really well by bringing in a guy that's coming off the back of 2 knockout wins, has just fought Teofimo Lopez in 2024, took him the distance. So it's a real measuring stick, has challenged for world titles. And it's a great fight for him on the national broadcaster and a great opportunity to perform and a great opportunity to do it in front of a massive audience. Do we wish that he fought on January the 31st? Absolutely. But having picked up a hand injury, to come back this quickly, especially after Ramadan, is great work to all involved. It will be at the Wembley Arena on a massive day for BBC. I think it's a Challenge Cup final of the Rugby League at the Wembley Stadium. Then you have the Champions League at 5 p.m. In this country, and then Adam Azim from 9 o'clock on BBC Two. So a huge opportunity for him, and really for the number 2 spot in the IBF, one fight away really from a world title, especially with Richardson Hitchens going over to Zuffa and vacating his world title belt. It gives him a huge opportunity and opens the door for him, really.
Yeah, Ben, it's a calculated gamble, this one, isn't it? Because Steve Claggett is a tough guy. He lost on points to Teofimo Lopez. I watched that fight. He was in Lopez's face the whole time. Stylistically, could be a problem for Adam Azim. So you go like fringe world title. He's a world-class operator, that is for sure, Claggett. So this is a good yardstick to see whether Adam is ready for that next step.
He's dangerous, you know. He's a fire starter. He wants to come and have a go. He's an absolute warrior. He's been in the game a long time. I don't think he's been stopped I think he's been stopped once in his career, right at the start of his career. As you said, had a great fight with Teofimo Lopez, comes off the back of 2 knockout wins. So it's a test for Adam, but it's what you would expect at this stage of his career. He's knocking on that world title door level now, and this is what you're going to be faced against. And so Steve comes off the back of a great win, really fit, really ready for this opportunity, and is someone we're delighted to have in, particularly when we're about to announce and Gustavo Lemos pulls out. This is a wonderful replacement and a great opportunity for Adam. And look, a great tough fight, but in front of a national broadcaster, you want a competitive fight. You want an opportunity to make a name for yourself. And if Adam Azim can stop Steve Claggett on the world stage, it's a massive statement.
I'd like to see Azim do well, Simon. Anytime he's been in this studio with us, he's a very measured, humble individual. I'd like him to go far. I mean, unbeaten in 14 with 11 knockouts.
He's a very good talent, very prestigious talent. A talent that I think most people, certainly Ben will, but we think as well has got a real chance of winning a world title. I think Richardson Hitchens was the obvious potential targeted candidate, and then somewhere along the line, maybe pair him, maybe 18 months down the line with a world title against someone like Dalton Smith. Then you've got this massive Battle of Britain, which has always been called for. It was always been right that Adam was allowed to develop a little bit. Dalton Smith is 4 or 5 years ahead of Adam, so there's always going to be this difference in terms of development.
Yeah.
This is a good fight. Anyone that goes in against Teofimo Lopez and takes him 12 rounds is going to be a decent fighter. So it would be a good yardstick. And if it does, then what if he wins this? When he wins this, Ben, how quickly does that elevate him into a position for either getting a shot at the IBF or establishing himself as a mandatory challenger for however the IBF gets cut up?
Look, the plan is for him to take the number 2 position. As you said, Richardson Hitchens has vacated. I believe they'll order Delgado to fight for the world title probably June, July. So we'd want Adam Azim to be fighting for that world title next. So ideally, he fights this fight on May the 30th and comes through, and then hopefully he's fighting for a world title by the end of the year. That's the plan. That's what we want. And as you said, fingers crossed Dalton Smith gets fit quick enough, because that's the unification that we want as well.
Spencer, let's whip through a few things with Ben in the time we have with him. You've made quite a number of all-British bouts over the years at Boxer, Ben. What's your take on AJ Fury? Do you get excited for it?
It's going to be a massive event, and it's absolutely unbelievable for boxing. It really is. It's something that will bring eyeballs to the sport. As an absolute boxing purist, at 37 and 38, Am I looking forward to the spectacle? Yes, I think it's interesting as a fan perspective to see them both in the ring together. But, you're seeing completely different versions of the fighters, and it just comes down to who has what left. Tyson probably, you could argue, has more left than Anthony based on his last performances, but you never know. So it's one of them. Look, it's great for the sport, great to see them in the ring. As a boxing fan, it's a massive shame that it's not the best against the best anymore. But
yeah,
I guess having done Eubank against Ben twice last year, that's really perhaps what it is.
And talking about Eubank, Chris Eubank Jr., a return? If so, when?
Look, he's fit and he's ready. And for me, the fight that makes sense is now in negotiations, and he'll be fighting towards the end of this year. He wants to come back in a big way at the super middleweight division. Looking back, that way, is something that he will never get to again. So at the 168 weight, I think he can do serious damage. Obviously, we've got Hamza Shiraz fighting for a world title. We've got Canelo coming back in September. For me, Chris Eubank Jr. has got a big fight this year, and yeah, delighted to see him back fit and well. And spoke to his team last week, and I'm very much looking forward to returning.
Well, come on, Ben, you can't tease us like that, mate. Who is the guy that you are talking to? It's obviously going to be a big name, because we know Chris Eubank Jr. at this stage of his career wouldn't go in unless it was a big name, a big operator. Can you give us any insight?
Look, if he'd beaten Conor Benn at the end of last year, he was fighting Canelo in September. That's where he wants to get back to. So it's the fight before the fight. I don't want to say it because of the negotiations ongoing, but it's a big name, as you said. He's not messing around. This is a pay-per-view event. He'll be fighting on pay-per-view by the end of the year, and it's a massive fight.
If you give us a couple of names, we could maybe decide which one we think it is.
No, because
is
anything that I say about Eubank Jr., Simon's there just waiting to absolutely pounce all over it. So
if we throw in my name and a fighter, let's go.
All right, let me ask you this, Ben: is it a top 5 opponent?
I would say he's in the top 5 names that you could possibly fight.
So it's a guy that has a big name, and mate, I'm just trying to work this out, mate.
For God's sake, Ben, tell us.
He has a big name. He's fought in pay-per-views himself.
Any clue, Simon? Do you want to throw your hat in the ring? Not you, is it?
Oh, no. I'm not particularly interested in Eubank Jr.
He's not particularly interested in Eubank Jr. I'll throw this at you before you leave us today, Ben. Are you in talking terms again with Martin Bacoli?
I'm not allowed to speak to him, unfortunately. The people that have got involved are the ones that are trying to manoeuvre a situation where we can't speak to him, but that will resolve itself. Ultimately, we've done wonders for Martin. We've changed his life. We've given him every opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe paid him even too much, to the point where he perhaps doesn't need to fight as often as he should. He's a fantastic talent. He's someone we want to see back in the ring very soon. I think in that heavyweight division now, with Richard Riakporhe winning in April in the way he did, he's the next one. Fraser Clark looked great as well, and we want Martin to be back in the mix and fighting regularly.
He says you've held his career hostage.
I think his career was almost non-existent before we signed him. So we've done a fantastic job. Honestly, I know what he was earning before he signed with us. I know what he's earned during it. I know the opportunities that we've given him. I know the chances that we've given him. Yeah. I know the times where he's not performed.
So you're still promoting him?
Phenomenal. Yeah, he's still in a promotional contract with
yeah.
So as soon as he's fit, as soon as he's ready to go, I'd like to see him back in the ring as soon as possible.
Okay. Ben, quickly before you go, mate, Edgar Berlanga, is he in the frame?
Or to fight Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I want to get to the bottom. I want to get to the bottom of this,
It will all be revealed soon. I think a lot of the fighters that signed for Zuffa perhaps are not looking at world titles and not looking at that. Chris Eubank a big fight, and then he wants to be fighting for a world title.
Even Simon joined in. Who did you throw in?
Jamal Charlo.
Yeah, good name, big name.
Come on, Ben. All we need is a name, mate. Then you can go.
I'll try and convince Chris Eubank Jr. to come on here yourself, and he can tell you.
I tell you what.
He probably won't. He probably won't, given the stick that Simon's given him over the past year or two. So let's see.
I tell you what, Ben. Just quickly.
Another boxer not talking to us because of you.
Ben, just quickly, mate. Just tell us, and we'll keep it a secret. We won't tell anyone.
Yeah, just before you go, you're off here.
You're off air.
Ben, we're in a commercial break, mate.
Just announce it on the BBC. No one's watching that anyway.
Ben Shalom, thank you so much for joining. Nothing like joining us, on a Thursday lunchtime and then finish taking a torrent of abuse. Thank you so much, Ben Shalom. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
I can tell you we've got a massive update on Mykhailo Mudryk. He has been handed a 4-year doping ban by the Football Association. It happened earlier this year. That is the maximum, the same number originally that Paul Pogba got, by the way. And Mudryk has gone to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. I can read you a statement from the Court of Arbitration to Sport from the sources that have sent on-record confirmation to talkSPORT saying CAS confirms it's received an appeal by Mykhailo Mudryk against the Football Association, filed on the 25th of February 2026. The parties are currently exchanging written submissions and a hearing is yet to be sanctioned. Sources have subsequently told us at talkSPORT that the ban is 4 years, and Mykhailo Mudryk is hoping, using the same lawyers actually as Paul Pogba, to either get vindicated via the Court of Arbitration for Sport or, at least in a worst case scenario, have that ban reduced. Now, if, like Pogba, the ban was moved from 4 years to 18 months or 2 years, then because the provisional suspension that Mudryk has served counts towards that, he could, in theory, if successful, find himself back in action ahead of next season. But if he serves the full 4-year ban because CAS uphold the FA decision, then obviously his Chelsea future and maybe even his future in football becomes severely in doubt.
Yeah, and Ben, remind us, if you know, of course.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Well, that's right. The heavyweight season on DAZN. May 9, Fabio Wardley makes his first defence of his WBO heavyweight title against Daniel Dubois, Manchester. Then on May 23rd, it's Glory and Giza. Usyk faces the Dutch kickboxing legend Rico Verhoeven, who joined Simon and myself the other day with a WBC heavyweight title up for grabs. Join DAZN Ultimate now. Get 12 plus pay-per-views a year, including Wardley, Dubois and Usyk Rico, and no extra cost. We'll finish today talking about Daniel Dubois up against Fabio Wardley. That's in Manchester in a week's time. Before we do that, I'm seeing quite a number of messages, guys. I'm going to put it to you, and I'm going to ask you out straight outright. It's about the Muhammad Ali Boxing Revival Act. What is that, and what's going on about it?
Well, it was an act that was produced primarily to increase the rights of fighters, to make sure that they were represented properly, to distinguish between promoters and managers so the lines weren't blurred, to make it a better landscape for boxers and to establish their rights and the money that they can achieve and the support that they can get. It also dressed up in other aspects of the sport, which provided medical support to make sure that the environments that they fought in were conducive with looking after athletes that put their lives at risk.
Yeah.
What Dana, Nick Khan and TKO are seeking to do is an absolute wolf in sheep's clothing. They're trying to revitalise the acts in their views by changing some of the dynamics. They're dressing up the fact they want to add more medical conditions around the circumstances, but they're also trying to create something called UBOs, which they're saying is Universal Boxing Organisations, which basically is one title for one weight class. It purifies it, it gets rid of all the politics in boxing, and you see the best fighting the best. Everybody knows if you put the best against the best, especially young prospects, you're going to destroy their careers earlier. But also what they're really after is the ability to be able to monetize the sport the same way they monetize the UFC. And we've seen how they monetize the UFC, which is basically take all the money out, drop it into the promoters and the managers' pockets, and very little into the boxers. And the very thing that the Muhammad Ali Act was brought in to do, which was separate the promoters and managers and broadcasters from the fighters and give a clear line, is now being blurred again. And they're very clever. They got Nick Khan to present very cleverly in front of the Senate. It's a bipartisan bill. You've got Dana White, who's a friend of the president, so it's likely to go through. And Oscar De La Hoya was representing the argument against it, didn't represent it as well as it could do. They're trying to bring out statistics like 64 fighters have died in the boxing ring rather than very few have died in the MMA.
Right.
Those 64 fighters have died in 900,000 bouts. 29 MMA fighters have died in something like 7,000 or 8,000 bouts. This is an absolute wolf in sheep's clothing. You even listen to Muhammad Ali's grandson, who's a fighter, that said the very thing that this bill was produced for, which my grandfather incorporated into the thinking of boxing to stop the Don Kings of the world pillaging and plagiarizing opportunities for themselves, is the very thing. And if you want to look at what's being done, look at what Dana did at UFC. He's replicating it in boxing. And how that can be considered to be a good thing for the fighters and for the act itself is beyond comprehension.
And that's the point. You nailed it there, Simon. The narrative is that, that the fighters are going to be earning more money, taking away the politics away from the sport. And that's not the way that it is. That's why the Muhammad Ali Act was originally, put into place. The well-being of the fighters. And this doesn't work in the fighters' favour.
The boxing was open to corruption.
It doesn't work in the boxers' favour.
Don't listen to what Dana White says. Watch what he does. You can watch what he does. He said, I'm contradicting myself, everything I loathed about boxing, I didn't replicate in UFC. Why then are you being sued by every or significant proportions of the MMA community because the revenues are going to the promoters and to the management company, and that's what they're seeking to do here.
We are 1 week away from Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley. It's in Manchester. Wardley's putting his WBO heavyweight title on the line. We always say that this is a proper fight. It actually is. This is the one you two get out of bed for, right?
This is the best fight in heavyweight boxing at the moment, stylistically, with these two, because we know what Daniel Dubois is going to do. We know how Daniel Dubois fights. Forget that he's coming off the loss to Alexander Usyk. That won't have bothered. I've seen him in preparation for this one. He's up for it. He's in great shape. I was down the gym with him actually last night. Fabio Wardley, we know what he is. Great win last time out against Joseph Parker. Stylistically, these two go gun-ho straight away. They go to war straight away.
So is it going to be over early?
I believe that if it gets past round 6, I'll be absolutely amazed because they're both so heavy-handed. I think that the fight can be won and lost. Daniel Dubois can make this fight very difficult for himself and get drawn into a dog fight, and that will be Fabio Wardley's fight, and that's where Fabio Wardley wins a fight. For Daniel Dubois, who has an underestimated jab, he throws a jab like a right hand. It's a ramrod of a shot. If he works behind that jab, finds a range with a jab, and boxes to instructions, Daniel Dubois wins a fight. This is a fascinating fight. It's a real 50-50 and could be won and lost tactically on this one.
Who's got more to lose, Simon?
Daniel. It is the battle of the elevated champions because both of them got elevated to world titles without actually winning them in the ring. They beat legitimate opponents, whereas Daniel went and validated his win by destroying Anthony Joshua. Fabio needs to validate his elevation, despite it being Joe Parker, by dealing with Daniel Dubois. They've got a 95% knockout ratio each. Right? So someone's going to get battered. Someone's going to get battered into submission or knocked out, guaranteed.
I would not bet a penny on hearing the final bell at the 12th round. That is for sure.
Who wins it?
It's a tough call, Jim. It's a tough call. I think Fabio Wardley, you'd have to say Fabio Wardley with the momentum that he's got coming off the good win over Joseph Parker, with Daniel Dubois coming off the loss to Alexander Usyk. Fabio Wardley will start the favourite. Who wins it? It's a flip of a coin.
If he can drag Daniel into waters where Daniel starts to question and think about the adversity that people have questioned he doesn't like, that's Fabio's best chance. But it's an irresistible force meeting an immovable object. What it is a legitimate heavyweight fight between two heavy-hitting heavyweights that are fighting for a world title.
Right.
Brilliant fight.
And that makes the two of you very happy.
Indeed.
Spencer, lovely to see you again.
Thank you,
And
Jim.
what a speech you made the other night.
Thank you very much. I'm still blown away by it myself. I didn't expect it.
I certainly didn't.
The reception that I got as well.
It was wonderful. A standing ovation. I needed a Kleenex or two. Where were you, Simon? I'll tell you where. Nowhere. But thank you for today. It's 1 o'clock this Thursday lunchtime.
Unai Emery to Real Madrid.
Oh, dear.
He's an experienced Spaniard whose heart is open to a move back home. He's enjoyed his time in the Midlands. His current partner is begging him to stay. But sometimes you just can't say no to something bigger and better. So will he ditch his babe in boring Birmingham for a magnificent madam in Madrid? Unai Emery to Real Madrid.
I don't think he'd want to go
Are you
to Real Madrid.
swiping left or swiping right?
Swiping left.
Hold on a minute. Did you?